time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I think we beat the young guys up over the week to understand what type of level of play we need from them and the expectation playing playoff football in Arrowhead, Giha, wherever stadium. Oh, it's not Giha? Oh, excuse me. My apologies. It's okay. Giha.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm at a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock the next 4 hours. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. We'll talk some college football. We'll talk some NFL football. We will talk some Kansas City Royals Major League Baseball. Les Norman's going to join us at noon. We'll talk with him. We'll break the norm about the Royals. 6 games in a row they have lost. I don't blame Mick Schaefer because he knocked on wood, so it is not his fault.
I blamed him yesterday for you, so don't worry.
No, but you can't, though. He knocked on wood. He specifically went out of his way when on Friday we had talked about the Royals had lost 2 games in a row, and he said, what's the longest losing streak this year for the Royals? It's been 4 games, and he immediately knocked on wood. So it is not his fault. I don't blame him. I don't know why I brought it up immediately, but I don't blame him specifically. I also don't blame myself for on Thursday saying, this team's going to the to the playoffs, man. They still are going to the playoffs. But, you know, I was very much more excited about that on Thursday before the injury to Vinny Pasquantino. That was only 5 days ago. You realize that? Doesn't that seem like it was like a year ago? It was like a month ago that Vinny – so much has happened with the Royals and the Chiefs in that time, and a Labor Day weekend as well with the local teams, college football being played, so much stuff that has happened since Thursday night took place, and the Royals have yet to win a game since Tuesday.
Who knew that Vinny was the one cog keeping the Royals from being the White Sox?
I've told everybody that Vinny should have been the MVP all season long. I've been calling for it. I've been talking about it. You take Vinny out of the lineup, the Royals can barely win a game.
They're the White Sox.
That's right. They're the White Sox without Vinny.
Who knew?
Yeah, I did. I've tried to tell you. I mean, multiple times. It's all about Vinny. So we'll talk certainly about the Royals. Les Norman, we'll talk with him, get his thoughts on what the impact of losing somebody in the middle of the lineup is like. And we know there's going to be an impact with the actual play on the field, but I'm curious about what happens in that clubhouse. You know, is this a Vinny out for the season hangover that they're experiencing right now? Small things here or there, runners in scoring position. The faucet has turned off, and it was running at a pretty nice stream most of the season, and now they have just turned the faucet off with runners in scoring position. And in these last 5 games, they've scored 2 runs per game, and they cannot come through with runners in scoring position. It's been a problem recently. Has not been a problem this year. It's been one of the they've been the best in Major League Baseball or close to it all year long with runners in scoring position. But it has not taken place over these last 6 games, really 5 games, because they scored 5 runs on that Wednesday. On that Wednesday, they scored 5 runs, ended up losing 7-5, but still. Or was that Thursday? Nope, Thursday was Houston. Got it. Figuring it all. Last week I was way off because there was a doubleheader on Monday.
Yeah, that was.
So it's like, this is game 4 of the series with the Guardians, but it's not Thursday game 4. It's Wednesday. All right, I'm confused as to what's going on. There's going to be a little bit of that this week with it already being Tuesday. But the first show, for me, I know you, thank you for filling in yesterday and doing the show, you and Mick Schaefer.
Someone has to
and
work.
Kaiser.
Someone has to work.
Hey,
again, it's Labor Day, not non-Labor Day.
I was laboring yard work, hours and hours of
I would have loved
trimming
to do yard work yesterday.
I would have loved to do a radio show instead of that. My body is hurting today.
You could have. No one said you couldn't come in.
Todd told me I wasn't allowed to work yesterday.
Is that what it was?
I'm not going to fight back. You know, he's the vice president of sports operations around here. I don't know. I'm not going to argue with him.
I love that. I would have loved to work. Oh, yeah? No one said you couldn't.
I would have gladly traded you if you wanted to
doors are open.
You wanted to do the 3.5 hours of work yesterday. That'd have been great. I would have done the 4 hours of, A little less than that. You get commercial breaks and stuff. But I would have done that yesterday. It would have been perfectly fine. But 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810. Text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Coming up an hour from now, we'll talk with Adam Teicher from ESPN. We'll get his thoughts on this Chiefs team, get a prediction for Thursday night, what he thinks about some of the additions and moves the Chiefs have made. Samaje Perine, we talked about that last week, but we'll get Adam Teicher's thoughts on that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, non-football injury list, will miss the first 4 games of the season. One of the things that the first person I heard bring that up was Nick Jacobs at KSHB 41, that threw out the possibility of, Clyde Edwards-Helaire may make the team and then they could put him on IR with the PTSD. He wouldn't play the first 4 games. You would have typically you're only activating 3 running backs anyway. That was before they signed Samaje Perine. So he's the first one that I heard talk about that. Not the IR, but the non-football injury list. He'll miss the first 4 games. Kudos to the Chiefs. Classy move that they're still going to pay his salary. They are not obligated to pay him a dime over these 4 weeks with the non-football injury list, because it's named that because an injury happened outside of playing the game. Therefore, you are not obligated to pay the money. They are still going to pay Clyde Edwards-Helaire all the money, give him access to the resources that he needs in the time over these next 4 weeks. So, good on the Chiefs for doing that and having that classy move. Chris Jones tweeted about it, said very classy of the Chiefs to do that. But they will be without Clyde Edwards-Helaire over the next 4 weeks, and makes the signing of Samaje Perine make sense even more. I think they probably had an idea that this was going to be the result when Samaje Perine became available, or even if he didn't become available. I do wonder if this was the plan, that Clyde would be on the team and then they would place him on the NFI list. I mean, they did have 27 offensive players and 23 defensive players for a time when they signed Samaje. Now they're down to 26 and 24. But that is certainly something to discuss and talk about moving forward, because he has to miss the first 4 games, but it doesn't mean after these first 4 games they just bring him back and he's ready to play.
Yeah.
What happens in a month? Is he ready to play? If he is he football ready? If there's an injury to Pacheco or Steele or Perine, what happens then? Is it Ingram? Is it Bailey who they re-signed? To the practice squad, who steps up? Probably Ingram. But who steps up and fills that role? The Chiefs only activate 3 running backs on game day anyway. Even when they have 4 running backs on their roster, they only activate 3. So there's always an inactive running back when they've had 4. So having 3 on the active roster doesn't impact anything on game day for what the Chiefs have historically done. It's a matter of somebody goes down, who's the first one to step up? We thought, okay, that would be Clyde and Perine and Steele behind Isaiah Pacheco. Now is it Steele, Ingram, or Perine, Ingram, or Bailey, or somebody else that they may go and get if Clyde's going to be out for an extended period of time? We certainly know over these first 4 weeks he will not be there. So we'll find out and we'll see what happens. But Perine says that, he's going to try to be available as much as possible on Thursday. Andy Reid said on Friday, he'll talk again today at 1 o'clock, a quote, Fast Friday on a Wednesday. He'll talk today, but on Friday he said there's no reason he wouldn't expect Samaje Perine to be out there. That, he's learning the playbook, he's in there, he's figuring everything out. Samaje said yesterday, not ideal.
Yeah.
Learning the playbook this quick, he's going to do what he can, but it's not ideal to come in this late and try to learn the playbook, but he wants to be out there and play. So I expect him to be active and to be playing. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play.
Sure.
I think he'll certainly have an idea of whatever package they'll put him in, or 10 to 15 plays. They may say these are the plays we will run when you were in the game. So learn everything you can about these plays, the checks, the coverages, the, routes, the blitz pickups, the staying in for a blitz pickup if nobody comes, then getting out in the flat or on a route. These are the things you have to know about these 10 to 15 plays, okay? Learn them. Go. Do that. Then we'll slowly integrate more and more of the playbook that you can understand with some of these plays that may play off each other, right? So we'll see what happens on Thursday with Samaje Perine. But it is a positional group that is roughly the same as it was when we were talking about it at the beginning of training camp. not knowing what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was really going through and not knowing Clyde Edwards-Helaire missing practices last year for sickness and then missing training camp practices for sickness. And we talked about it at the time, like, man, it's another practice that he misses because he's sick, and he missed practices last year because he was sick. Like, is this a Frank Clark issue that, he's got the stomach stuff going on and it just flares up from time to time, and he's got it, like, what's the deal with Clyde? We didn't know. We certainly didn't know it was a manifestation of symptoms of PTSD that was happening that made him physically ill. Now we know that. Adding Samaje Perine for Clyde Edwards-Helaire certainly helps. Makes him a little bit better at that particular spot because he is a absolute perfect pickup and fit for this particular offense. 913-912-4810. Adam Teicher joins us at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from Andy Reid. A Fast Friday coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll talk some Royals today, certainly, like I said, with Les Norman as they get set for 2 more games against the Guardians to wrap up the season series against the Guardians. Then they've got 3 against the Twins. And we'll see what happens moving forward with that. If they can break this losing streak, and I still believe they're going to make the playoffs. They have a 79% chance of making the playoffs. The numbers simply work in their favor on making the playoffs. I mean, there aren't 50 games left. If there were 50 games left and they were playing like this, I'd certainly be more concerned. 23 games remaining? Just a little math for you. The Red Sox haven't been playing great baseball either. They also have 2 more games left against the Mets. They lost last night to the Mets. They've got 2 more games in New York. The Mets are a half game out of the wild card. It's not the Mets that are losing and 10 games under 500 and fire sale and putting guys on waivers just so they can not have to pay the money. The Mets are only a half game out. And Lindor's got 32 consecutive games of getting on base.
Dude, he's been
unbelievable.
Electric.
He's been unbelievable. It's a resurgence of Francisco Lindor, playing like he did when he was in Cleveland. But they've still got 2 games left. They've got 7 games left against Baltimore and New York, do the Red Sox. So they've got 24 games remaining. The Royals have 23 games remaining. If the Royals go 9-14, can they go 9-14? I mean, they've got 3 against the Giants, 3 against Washington. They've got 3 against the Tigers, 3 against Pittsburgh still.
Yeah.
I mean, can they win 9 games total the rest of the year? 9-14. If they do, then Boston, with their schedule, has to go 14-10.
Yeah.
They've got to play over 600 baseball. They haven't played 600 baseball this year. They have to then turn it on in the final 23 games when they have been struggling against Baltimore, New York, 6 against Tampa, who's played better baseball than they have since the All-Star break, 2 more against the Mets. They got to play 4 games above 500. That's if the Royals play 5 games under. Yeah. That's if they only win 9 games. So I know it feels like the sky is falling, and it may ultimately fall. I'm just saying it would take a catastrophic collapse or an unbelievable hot streak by Boston or Seattle or Detroit.
I think Detroit's the one.
There are 3 games left against Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit's the one team I would say that I would. Again, I don't think Detroit gets there, but Boston, they're crumbling right now. They really are. Seattle, they just can't hit.
Yeah.
Their offense is just abysmal. To me, it's Detroit who's playing really good ball. They're of those 3 teams, they're playing the best baseball right now.
They're above 500. They finally got above 500, 70-69. 5 games out behind the Royals, and they've got 3 games left head-to-head against the Royals.
It's the head-to-head that gives them, to me, that's the one team that I would say the Royals need to watch out for.
But again, if the Royals go 9-14 the rest of the way, then Detroit has to go 15-9 the rest of the season to catch the Royals. That's to tie the Royals. And depending on what happens in that series, you got the season series. You got the season series on the line.
That's where I get again. The Royals, I did not think that one player would sink their season.
Yeah.
Tommy Pham has been here 2 days and needs to hold a players-only meeting is what it seems like because I don't know. It's just the front office is not rolled over.
No.
They brought in Robbie and Tommy, and they tried Yuli Gurriel, and we'll see with that hammy. But the players just look, I don't want to say defeated, but offensively, I mean, the amount of just bad swings, the amount of almost hitting fungo to the end. Like Michael Garcia, it's a 2-1 count, and you got to hit a fungo to the second baseman. Like, I don't know. It's almost like they're playing tight. They're playing scared. They're playing like they don't want to lose instead of trying to play to win. It's just frustrating to watch.
Yeah, there have been some wasted at bats. There have been some surrender at bats. It feels like over these last 4 or 5 games or so. But again, the Royals have played baseball to the point that they have put themselves in this position to where if they struggle down the stretch, the other teams chasing them still have to play well above 500 ball against good teams the rest of the way. I mean, so again, there's a reason they're an 80% chance of still making the playoffs at Fangraphs.
Yeah.
There's a reason 8 out of 10 times the rest of the season you play it 10 times, we'll play it 100 times, 80 of those the Royals make the playoffs. All right? It's going to take a catastrophic collapse along with one team gets really hot. Either the Red Sox, the Tigers, or the Mariners. That's what it's going to take for the Royals not to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they'll do anything in the playoffs. I'm just talking about from a standpoint of this year, losing 100 games last year, and then making the playoffs this year. 913-912-4810. Let's talk some Chiefs football. And we talked a little bit about it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but there's 2 days until the Royals or Chiefs take on the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night. Which, by the way, how beautiful it was this weekend and how beautiful it's going to be like the next 2 days. Like the high today is like 81. It's going to be 83 at kickoff on Thursday night because the high is 90 on Thursday. Like, then it's going to drop down a little bit. It's like, oh, of course, let's make it really hot. I think it might be the only time the Chiefs are going to play in a hot game this year is going to be on a night game.
That beer's going to taste good.
Is it? For who? Kelsey or Mahomes after the game's over?
Yeah, for
Post-game beer?
The post-game beer. I mean,
Yes.
The halftime Fresca is going to hit different.
the halftime lung dart Fresca combination is going to feel real good for the Chiefs there because it's going to be pretty hot on Thursday night. But obviously it could be worse. It could be 90 degrees. We saw it last year in Jacksonville when it was hot and muggy and sticky in week number 2. And Steven, was there and talked about how miserable everybody was in the stands because it was just suffocatingly hot there. The Chiefs went and won the game. So it's not going to be that on Thursday night, but still, I just find it funny, interesting, how nice the weather's been, and that it's going to shoot up to 90 on Thursday and then sort of drop back a little bit. But they take on the Ravens, and we can talk about, the Ravens Super Bowl and revenge game. It's it's the top 5 of all revenge games. Anybody in the NFL that's put out their lists of revenge games this year, Ravens, Chiefs, week number 1, big revenge game for the Ravens. And obviously the Chiefs are raising the banner and they're celebrating a championship and trying to go for 3 in a row, the three-peat there. And this isn't the same matchup of what took place last January. It's not the same because the Chiefs have improved and I don't think the Ravens have. I think the Ravens have taken a step back. Now, how big a step? I don't know. They may, by the end of the season, be a better team than they were a team that ended the season. But I don't think week 1, they're going to be better than what they were on January 28th. Whereas I think the Chiefs probably take a step back defensively overall. Mm-hmm. But I think the offense is back. I think the offense is going to be back to being the Chiefs offense we know. Not the Chiefs offense that struggled in that game against the Ravens. Not the Chiefs offense that could have put 20 points on the board. They put 17. They finished the game in scoring position, in field goal range. They could have put 20 on the board. Not that particular way. This is going to be a much better offense this year against a Ravens defense that I think has a lot more questions than answers right now. And it's not just like personnel-wise. Like offensively for them, the offensive line has way more questions than answers right now because they've got 3 new starters. And they've got 3 new starters with guys that do not have experience.
Sure.
I mean, their right guard that they're talking about, like the difference between Ben Cleveland and Fa'alele. I mean, they've got a combined 8 starts between them. The left guard is a combination between a 6th rounder last year who was inactive all year or a 7th rounder last year who missed the entire season with a torn ACL. There are spots Like text comes in and says, adding Derrick Henry definitely makes the Ravens worse. So Derrick Henry, that's it? That's all they did? They just added Derrick Henry? Are they the same team? So are they the same team?
No, but I do think you and I have a little disagreement here, which is it makes us fun.
About whether they're better or worse?
No,
I think adding
because-
Derrick Henry is great. I think it makes their offense really good, but they have 3 new offensive linemen.
Agreed.
With
And
almost no
and
experience.
they're also getting an all-pro left tackle back, which is a big
That
help.
helps. And he played in that game against the Chiefs.
Sure, Tyler Linderbaum is a very good center.
Yep, those are the 2 guys.
Those are the 2 guys. If they have 2
Right.
great offensive linemen back, 3 question marks. The Chiefs also have a question mark. Being completely fair and transparent here, then you have to say Kingsley Suamataia. Yes, it's a a high draft pick compared to a lower round draft pick, but just how the Chiefs are able to develop cornerbacks and secondary members very, very well. I seemingly trust the Ravens with their offensive line development. They've done a great job historically.
I mean, their offensive line coach did die last week. I mean, it's tragic, it's awful, but it is also reality.
Sure.
They've got so much, and it's coaching staff that they've got changeover too. They got 4 different coaches on defense. Defensive coordinator is the head coach in Seattle. Their defensive line coach, assistant head coach, wanted the DC job with Baltimore, didn't get it. Now he's the defensive coordinator in Miami. They lost their defensive backs coach, who took a job with the Titans and a promotion. And their linebackers coach is now their defensive coordinator in Zach Orr. So they've got 4 coaches in different spots than they had a year ago on defense. They don't have the guy who was top 10 in pressures in the NFL in Jadeveon Clowney.
Correct.
Who had a career year. I couldn't believe it. I looked at it last. He had 77 pressures last year.
Yeah, he was
77?
That's
pressures?
what he was supposed to be when he came out of college.
77 pressure. I didn't realize that about Jadeveon. I knew he had a good year with almost 10 sacks, right? 9.5 sacks. But looking at some of the advanced analytics, 77 pressures. When he was on the field, they had almost a 50% pressure rate. When he was off the field, it was at 36. And when he was on the field, Clowney, they blitzed 15% less and had almost a 14% pressure rate higher than when he was off the field. Like, he was that good. So that is a difference. Their secondary is really good. Okay, there's no getting around how good their secondary is. Adding Nate Wiggins, getting Marlon Humphrey back healthy.
Yes.
Stevens is good. Hamilton and Williams at safety are really good. There's no getting around that. Losing Geno Stone changes maybe the way they play Kyle Hamilton, but their secondary is legit. That got better. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Stone, I think, was one of the more underrated safeties in football last year. But then obviously Marcus Williams, and they have a veteran backing up in Eddie Jackson's nice. Linebacker play, they lose Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
How they somewhat had their defense set up in that 3-4. Jadeveon Clowney a lot of times coming out the outside, so losing him's big. But
They did bring back Kyle Van Noy.
They have Kyle Van Noy. Trenton Simpson is young. He was kind of the guy waiting in the wings to fill in for Patrick Queen.
And I will say he played well the last couple of weeks of the season when he played more extensive time because the Ravens had the number 1 seed, so they rested some guys. But
and so Trenton Simpson's kind of the new Patrick Queen in a way.
He's kind of to me he's kind of an X factor. Sorry to interrupt. He's kind of an X factor defensively because if he plays close to what they got from Queen, the defense is going to be really, really good again. If it's a bigger step back from a guy in Queen that had pass breakups, pressures, sacks, interceptions, and just did a lot of different things, then you lose a playmaker on defense like that. But go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
and then you obviously have Roquan Smith, who's
amazing.
Second best linebacker in football behind Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Adafe Owe, good player, and then obviously
he'll be filling in for Clowney.
Yeah, and
so
then
takes over for
and then they
Clowney.
have a second rounder in Ajobo from last year or 2 years ago.
It was last year because he had the ACL tear, right?
Yeah.
He should have been a first rounder.
But again, I just think they are a really good team, even with the pieces that have been lost.
Yeah. No, I think they're a good team. I just think the Chiefs are better overall.
Sure.
In their 53, and I have questions about how much better the Ravens are by their offensive line was a veteran offensive line and good. And they lost 2 to free agency, and then they traded 1. And those 3 guys are being replaced with guys with almost no experience.
Sure.
Stanley being healthy helps. Derrick Henry as a running back helps. Mark Andrews healthy helps. But I don't know what the defense is going to look like with a new defensive coordinator, new linebackers coach, new defensive line coach, new defensive backs coach, and the offensive line has a new offense. Now, I will say the offensive line coach that they have currently has been with the Ravens the last month because their offensive line coach got sick. Yeah. He ended up passing away last week, but he did get sick. And so the offensive line coach they have has been with them for a month, but it is 1 month on the job for their own O-line coach, integrating 3 new offensive linemen that are rookies, second-year players, or inexperienced veterans overall. That's a question. That's a question. Right tackle, right guard are brand new. Left guard is going to be brand new. So Linderbaum can help as a center, but he can help the right guard. But if your right guard is a guy who the starter and backup have a combined 8 starts between them in their career, do they help out the right tackle who is a younger guy or a rookie second rounder in Rosengarten at right tackle? So there's going to be some issues there. And they may make up for it if Derrick Henry is a stud and Lamar Jackson is really good. They may make up for the offensive line issues.
Sure, and Patrick Ricard at fullback is a good blocking fullback, obviously. I'd expect to see a lot of 12 personnel. Again, you can help the tackle out a little more than you can the guard in that instance, right? You'll see a lot of Isaiah Likely with Mark Andrews, I'd have to imagine.
Right.
Again, I think the Chiefs, obviously, are the best team in the NFL right now, obviously winning back-to-back Super Bowls. But I think in the AFC, it's Baltimore, Chiefs, and I would throw Houston in there, the Texans. Those 3 teams, they're right there at the top right there. I just don't think Baltimore is a team to, even with the turnover, I think they're a damn good team.
Oh, I do too. I think they're a good team. I think they have taken, and a step back doesn't mean it's a leap, right? It could be one small step for the Ravens, one giant leap for the Chiefs. I'm not sure.
For mankind.
Oh, that's right. That was. I thought, no, that's not what it was.
For
It was
mankind.
one small step back for the Ravens, one giant leap forward for the Chiefs.
And somehow
that's exactly what he said, right?
And they buried the Chiefs flag in the moon.
Am I wrong about this? I don't know why, but that's the way I was brought up. That's what I was taught. I don't know why when I was younger, the Ravens didn't exist, and I was told that it was a small step back for the Ravens. But that's what that was the line.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's being able to look in the future. But I think the Chiefs are slightly improved, and I think the Ravens are slightly worse, slightly. But it was also a back-and-forth game that could have been different if Zay Flowers doesn't fumble in the end zone and Lamar Jackson doesn't throw an interception in the end zone, that those things even out. Okay, maybe it is a 23-20 win for the Ravens on Thursday night. But I think the offense for the Chiefs has taken a bigger step forward than the Chiefs' defense will take a step back.
Fair.
So, if the Chiefs' offense was a 5 and the defense last year was a 10, so it equaled, I'm just giving random numbers.
Yeah, it's a 15.
So it equaled a 15. I think the defense might be an 8, and the Chiefs' offense might be an 8 or a 9. Now it's a 16 or a 17. So it's a little bit better than what it was last year. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. 913-912-4810.
If only Florida State had their starters.
Tex says they lost one of their main linebackers. We talked about that with Patrick Queen. Tex says the old line coach died 6 days ago. There'll be a mess on the offensive line. And it's unfortunate. He coached with the Chiefs for a while, too. DeLisandro? I should probably know it, just to show respect to the man who's been in football for so long and unfortunately passed away on August 25th. But their offensive line coach that was the interim in the time when he got sick a month ago is the offensive line coach. But as the text says, he says the offensive line is going to be a mess. It could be, for sure. Text says
it's I hope I don't pronounce him wrong, but Joe D'Alessandris.
Joe D'Alessandris, that's what it was. Yeah,
yes.
he was an offensive line coach with the Chiefs back in the 2000 aughts.
Yep.
Tex says, and this is interesting. It's something to think about. It says, I almost say the Ravens would be better week one than they'll be by the end of the year with Derrick Henry's age. It's an interesting thought. If Derrick Henry's much more fresh in the first week or first month and a half.
All the time, though, with
That's not wrong.
Except for last year. Like
Lamar
any
too.
Lamar MVP season is not one he's finished. Every other one, it feels like he's missed like 4 or 5 games throughout the season.
It's a great call. Yeah, I mean, just the amount of hits Lamar takes.
Yep. Tex says Derrick Henry averaged 62 rush yards per game last year behind a bad O-line. This year might be slightly better, but he's not what he once was. I wonder how much the impact of Derrick Henry will be when the threat of Lamar Jackson to keep it and run can create a seam between the defensive end and a defensive tackle by having to compensate for if Lamar Jackson pulls it and then goes around the edge. Well, you can't. Will Levis wasn't going to keep it and run around the edge.
Agreed.
Certainly, he wasn't going to keep it, run around the edge, and pick up 60 yards and a touchdown. He might have picked up, a first down. But if there's a mesh point with Derrick Henry, Will Levis is probably going to give it. Where if you crash down on Henry, Lamar Jackson keeps it and then goes, and he lost a little bit of weight. I don't know if that means they want to really sort of dive into the running game even more this year and invest fully on this is going to be a running team with Lamar Jackson, and it's going to be thunder and lightning with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. And, we'll pass it if need be with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Zay Flowers will, catch everything we throw to him. Rashad Bateman can be a jump ball guy. And this is how we're going to, move forward with this. We're really going to embrace and go head first into being mainly a running team. And we won't abandon, quote unquote, abandon the run like we did against the Chiefs last year, which, by the way, I will push back on that in the AFC Championship game of them, quote unquote, abandoning the run. Because what's being lost when people say abandon the run, that the first 7 drives for the Ravens, they had 10 handoffs in the first 7 drives and they gained 114 yards. The last 4 drives, they had 1 handoff and they gained 200 yards. They had the fumble in the end zone, the interception in the end zone, and a field goal. The 3 and out was the 1 handoff. So did they abandon the run, or did they do what was actually working and successful? Because the Chiefs against the run are better.
Yeah.
This Chiefs defense has been better against the run the last couple of years, and I think the same will be the true this year as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will tell you about a really cool opportunity to get a football that is going to commemorate a special time in Chiefs history. We'll talk with Bob Ibach coming up on the other side of the break from Nyco Sports. And we'll tell you how cool this piece of history is for the Chiefs to look back with the Lynn Dawson era of the Kansas City Chiefs. More Zone next. All right, welcome to the show right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, The Zone. We will talk with Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider coming up at 11 o'clock right now. Let's talk with Bob Ibach from Nikco Sports, Nikco Sports.com. We've told you about some of these awesome footballs, and Bob, we've had a lot of them over the last 5 or 6 years because of 3 Super Bowls for the Chiefs and a lot of success along the way. But this is a really cool one, Bob, and where we get to commemorate back in the day, 55 years ago when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, Jason. Always nice to be with you. And I was just talking to your producer. I said, I remember that game because I was 22 years old at the time, and it was on January the 11th, 1970 at Tulane Stadium. And that's when Super Bowl IV was conducted. The Chiefs won their first one that time. They beat Bud Grant's team, the Minnesota Vikings, 23-7. And I also remember, that is a very historic game. And I know this football that we'll be talking about, I think it makes it really, really historic because we're going to only make 1,970 of these officially licensed Super Bowl IV footballs. It was the final game ever played in AFL history, and having the Jets won the year before with Joe Namath, and of course Lombardi won the first 2 Super Bowls. This marked the last game in AFL history as well down at Tulane Stadium that day, and so it was a very historic game. And this football that we have, and I'll paint the picture on the various panels of it, and then I'll give out a phone number and a website how you can get this. If you're a Chiefs fan and you got the other 3 Super Bowls, footballs, everybody asked about what happened to the very first one. And Nikco Sports went back this summer and got the cooperation from licensing to do this special football. So you can add this to your collection. They're only $119.95 each. Makes a great Christmas or holiday gift idea. And on the top panel of the ball, you'll have the official Super Bowl logo on there, Super Bowl IV logo. You'll have the stats from that game. You'll have the Arrowhead logo on there, and then you'll have the opponent and the date of that game, the 23-7 win against Minnesota on January 11th at Tulane Stadium. And the second panel right below that has a full season schedule with all the Chiefs scores on there, the opponents, and so forth. So you'll be able to look at how that season happened. And the third panel is really kind of cool, too, because it's got action images of Willie Lanier, quarterback Len Dawson, and Bobby Bell, 3 of the standout players, all made Hall of Fame later on in their careers. So this is a very unique football. And, again, it's only $119.95. We're kicking it off today. And I do encourage people to consider this because it's going to appreciate in history and in value because it's never been done before. The toll-free number to call to get this is 1-800-345-2868. That's 1-800-345-2868. Or just go to NikcoSports.com. You can see it up on the website. You can order it there, NikcoSports.com. That's NikcoSports.com. Or, again, that phone number, 1-800-345-2868. I would not delay on this one because we just unveiled it today, and with that limited number of only 1,970 footballs ever to be produced, I believe this will be a sellout within the next couple days. And people will walk into your home, Jason, and look at it, or your office, and see this display. They're going to go, wow, where did you get that football? Because, if you got the other 3 Super Bowl footballs that we've done, no one has ever done this football before. And we had to go through a few loopholes to make sure that it was, licensed and everything else. But we finally got it done, and we wanted to make sure it was available to Chiefs fans.
I think one of the other cool things that Nikco Sports does is that portion of the proceeds goes to Jackson County CASA. And we've worked with Jackson County CASA, and we have Myron Metcalf on during the basketball season. But also a part of this, while getting the football, you're also knowing that Jackson County CASA is going to get a portion of the proceeds too.
Well, that's so important too, because Nyco Sports has raised in the last 5-6 years over $3.1 million for charities, and I know we've worked with Jackson County CASA that trains advocates for children in the family court system and helps out youngsters who have experienced abuse or neglect, and we know how that is so important. So a portion of the proceeds from these footballs will go to the Jackson County CASA group, and I know we've worked with them on several projects down your way before, and just a great bunch of people who support that.
Bob, this football is fantastic. It's great, and I love the fact that you got 3 Hall of Famers on there with Lenny and Willie and Bobby there on one of the panels, and, of course, commemorating that entire season. So I would say thank you for, bringing back this 1970 Super Bowl, 1969 season, and getting to commemorate that with the 3 others that the Chiefs. For a long time, Bob, it was the only one. It was, hey, this is the one. We commemorate that Super Bowl, the one Super Bowl. Now, I love when you say, if you've got the 3 other footballs from the Super Bowl, this is a pretty cool one to complete the set.
It exactly is. And, it brings back a lot of memories from my earlier journalism career. I worked with the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun, covered both the Redskins and the Colts in those years in the 70s. And I remember being at Tulane Stadium that day in New Orleans, and it was so different than other. I've been to, I think it's 20 different Super Bowls over my career, and when you have, usually when you start the Super Bowls, a couple days leading up to it, you have what they call Radio Row. I'm sure maybe you've been on that before, and there was no Radio Row in those days. When they brought in players to be interviewed, they had a big hotel room set up, and you asked who you wanted to interview, and they walked them on in, and there's only about 14 or 15 of us that were reporting at that time. So it was entirely different, and what it's grown to be over the years.
That's amazing. Bob Ibeck, Nyco Sports, NIKCOsports.com, 1-800-345-2868. Bob, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to talking to you down the road in February with.
Hey, listen, again. let's go for the three-peat, huh?
Let's do it, man. That would be a fun football to have, the three-peat first ever team to do that. Bob, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, hey Jason, have a wonderful day, and go Chiefs. And I'll be watching that game on Thursday night. That should be a classic.
Looking forward to that one. Bob, thank you so much, brother.
Bye-bye now.
All right, there's Bob Ibeck, Nyco Sports. Again, NIKCOsports.com, NIKCOsports.com, 800-345-2868. Again, 1,970 footballs. Usually they do I think 3,000 is the number that they've done with the Super Bowl footballs, and they go pretty quick. But 1,970 to commemorate the year that the Super Bowl was played. But one of those panels, you get the entire season. Another panel, you get the specific Super Bowl. And then the third panel on the football, you get the, third or the fourth panel, you get the images of Lynn Dawson, Willie Neer, and Bobby Bell. Hall of Famers, some of the best at their positions, too, that played. So pretty cool football. Again, it's Nyco Sports, NIKCOsports.com. We will talk with Adam Teicher and get his thoughts on the Chiefs starting their run, an attempt at a three-peat coming up in just 2 days. We'll get his thoughts on Samaje Perine, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, get a prediction, some defensive stuff as well. That's Adam Teicher next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, talking some Chiefs football. Adam Teicher from ESPN is our guest, presented by Twin Peaks, 2 days away from the Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens to start the 2024 season. Adam, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How you doing today?
I am doing just fine. If you look back from January 28th when the Chiefs and Ravens played, does it feel like forever ago, or does it seem like it was pretty recent?
It seems like yesterday, as a matter of fact. I can't believe it's been, 7 months or whatever it's been since that game. Yeah, the offseason happened fast, no doubt.
It's crazy. It feels like every day that goes by, the offseason feels like it's taken forever. But, it's somebody told me a long time ago when we had kids, they said, when you have children, the days are long and the years are fast. And that is absolutely true, because at the end of the day, you're like, okay, they're asleep. Next thing you know, you look up, like, how is the kid 9 now? And it's like every day, like, all right, what are we talking about today? Then you wake up, it's like, oh, wait, they're playing in 2 days against the Ravens. Let's get this thing rolling as 3-point favorites. Let's talk about some Go ahead.
So does that mean the Chiefs are our kids then?
Yes.
If the time has gone fast?
That's exactly what I mean. They're our baby.
If the year has gone fast?
They're our baby.
Okay.
Look,
all right.
Look, Adam.
You just you're the one changing the diaper here, all right?
That's great. Okay, that's fine. I'll do that. Dick Vermeil told that to Larry Johnson. It's time to take those off and go to work. It's getting ready for this season, and maybe a three-peat for this Chiefs team. So yeah, I guess they can. It can be. I'll take responsibility. I'll take care of the child for this particular year, and then the next thing you know, we'll wake up and this thing will be a three-peat. It'd be fantastic. I got this, Adam.
Adam, that means you have to get up at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and stuff. So it's kind of a trade-off. So pick your battles.
I've been there, brother.
Yeah,
I've done that. I've done my duty there.
Yes, agreed. I have as well, and But I will look. The time flies, Adam. When Patrick Mahomes does an interview a couple of weeks ago, and talks about close to being 30 years old. That hit a little different when I hear Patrick Mahomes say 30. I'm like, what? No. You're still 25, right?
Yeah. Well, he was talking about how he's older now than Kelsey was when Mahomes got to the Chiefs, and I had to think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's right. He sure is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Time's moving.
Well, you know what? At least while that's happened, they've picked up 3 Super Bowls along the way, because it could be different in saying, man, he's almost 30, and they got to take advantage here soon. That's not the conversation, Adam. The conversation is, can the Chiefs be the first one to ever do it? And I've said a couple of times, many times over the last month or so, that I don't know, what a team in the future will look like when they win back-to-back Super Bowls. But we've seen previous iterations of teams win back-to-back Super Bowls and what those teams look like the next year. Certainly a couple of those teams losing Hall of Fame quarterbacks the next year, and one of the reasons why those teams struggled or didn't make the playoffs. But I can't imagine that there will be a team in the future that could win back-to-back games and be more set up in a better position than the Chiefs. Maybe as good, but a better position than the Chiefs to go for a three-peat with returning everybody, having the best quarterback in the NFL in his prime, having the best coach, and still, a number of playmakers all over the field. Adam, I can't imagine there will be a team that will be in better position to three-peat than the Chiefs are right now.
No, I think that's probably true. It's hard to predict any one of 32 teams is going to win a Super Bowl, so it's hard to say, they're going to do it, but they certainly got a good chance. I mean, they've got – this is as good a roster as you're going to find for a team trying to make a three-peat. And, you're going to have to win some close games maybe in the playoffs. You're going to look at all the postseason games they've won over the years by being the ones who have made the play when they've really needed it. And they've got those guys. They've still got a number of those guys still in place, Chris Jones and Mahomes and Kelsey. And now maybe with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, they've got more. So I feel like, they are in pretty good shape. Whether they're going to get it done, wow, that's a tough thing to predict. But, yeah, I do think they have a good chance.
Why do you think this team has been able to do that? That, we look back in the 3 Super Bowls that they've had, they made the plays while down 24-0 to Houston and came back and stormed back. What they did against San Francisco in the final 8 minutes of that game, Cincinnati a couple of years ago, in finding a way to win that game with Mahomes on 1 foot. Philadelphia having to, be almost pretty much perfect in the second half. Again, as we've said, they picked up every single yard they wanted to in the second half against the Eagles, going to Buffalo, going to Baltimore, San Francisco again. Like the plays late, they seem to be the ones to make them. Why do you think that is, that this team, way more than not, I mean, we're talking about the Bengals a couple of years ago when they lost in overtime, the one where they didn't make the plays. Why is it this team just has that knack of doing it?
Yeah, it's almost like where you expect it now, right?
Yeah.
And if it's a close game, the Chiefs are involved, you expect them to be the ones to do it. And, to me, the play that sort of epitomizes all this is the L'Jarius Sneed forced fumble on Zay Flowers last year. I mean, what kind of play was that? That's a one in a million play. I mean, one in a 10, 20, 50,000. I mean, it's just amazing how they're able to come up with those plays. And other than they just got guys with the knack for doing it. Chris Jones has done it so many times now that, how many you just expect Chris Jones to make a play when the Chiefs need him to do it in a big situation. And the same thing with Mahomes and Kelsey, and now maybe they got more guys who can do it. So they've just collected guys with the knack of making those kind of plays. So it truly is an amazing thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. And look, I think they're the best team in the NFL, arguably the best team in the NFL, but we know that sometimes the best, most talented team in the NFL doesn't win. Look at the Chiefs last year. You'd be hard-pressed to say that they were the most talented team, especially with the offense being sort of middle of the pack and the wide receiver group that they had, but they still had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and they picked things up in the postseason, and the deep passes were connecting a little bit more. They weren't dropping the ball as much. They had a positive turnover differential instead of a negative turnover differential in the playoffs versus the regular season. So some of those things that were issues during the regular season, all of a sudden they weren't issues in the postseason. And I don't know how to explain that either, other than maybe water finding its level at the right time, or this team, you and I say that, you almost expect this team to make the plays. That, if they're on the sideline saying, we expect that we're going to make the plays. I don't know that the other team is saying that, well, we expect they're going to make the plays, but certainly the Chiefs on their sideline, they've done it so often that I don't know if it starts to build on itself and sort of that snowball rolling downhill, that they have that belief that they're going to make the play. And if they believe that, their team overall, somebody's going to make the play, then more likely than not, they're not thinking, here we go again, somebody's not going to make the play, or I got to be the hero to come through here because, hey, we're going to find a way to get this done.
Yeah, well, I think you're selling last year's roster a little short. I mean, they had a great offensive line, the Chiefs did last year, and so that was certainly a factor. And defensively, I think they're underrated. There was a number of guys who were, we know about Chris Jones, we know about McDuffie, we know Snead had a great year, but there's a number of guys on that defense who, or maybe underrated. Maybe they aren't great players. They're not Pro Bowl or all-pro type guys, but guys who are really playing well and doing the things they're asked by their coach to do. So, I think last year maybe was more a situation of water finding its level, and they finally quit dropping a lot of passes and made some things happen in the passing game. And so I look at it more like that, like they were underachieving most of the season and finally figured it out.
Yeah, and sometimes there's some luck that goes along in football, and I can't remember what the exact numbers were, but when the ball hit the ground in a fumble during the regular season, the Chiefs were terrible at recovering it. Sure. They were not good from both sides, defense and offense. And when the ball hit the ground in the postseason, Chiefs recovered most of them. So it's just one of those things that happen but again, that sort of goes back to they find a way to make a play. They find a way to do that. Samaje Perine was interviewed, and you had a great question, Adam, and it was a great answer when it's sort of like, what do you think of, or I can't remember the way you phrased it, but Samaje Perine answered by saying, winning. That's what they do. They win. It was a great answer because somebody from the outside, like, hey, what's this sort of thing like? They win. That's what it's like.
Yeah. Well, that's not actually what I was trying to get at with the with the question, but it was a good answer. I mean, that and I think that's what now a generation of NFL players are thinking out there. That and maybe that creeps into teams' minds when they're playing the Chiefs is that we're not worthy here. We're down in the 2 minutes and the game's tied, but they're the ones who are going to make the play. I don't know, but that was kind of a. That was a fun answer from him.
What were you looking for? What were you looking for in sort of and not an answer specifically? Here's what you wanted him to say, but sort of him to talk about.
I don't know, just maybe a culture, or I guess I really didn't have anything specific, but just what an outsider's view. Somebody who's played against the Chiefs beat them in a very big game at Arrowhead a couple of years ago when he was with the Bengals, made that great touchdown play. Just what a guy like that would think about just this place from the outside.
Yeah. Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN, presented by Twin Peaks. Let's talk about the fit of Samaje Perine. What do you think of it, and is it as puzzle piece just right there, not necessarily completing the team, but hey, this was sort of an area they needed, and this was the specific cutout of the puzzle in an area they needed, and hey, Samaje Perine, that's the guy, and boom, place it right there? Yeah,
I mean, it's like different type of player for sure, but this is like Jerick McKinnon. I mean, I view it the same way. He'll fill that Jerick McKinnon role presumably, and I have some questions about this, particularly what's he doing on waiver? Well, he wasn't on waivers. He was actually released. He didn't have to go through waivers. What's he doing out there? What do the Broncos know something that nobody else does about what he's got left in the tank? So I mean, he won't necessarily play a huge role, but can he handle it? Is he still up to that? So I have a few questions there, but I think in terms of fit, if he's still the player he's been, if he has something left in the tank, this is exactly what the Chiefs were talking about. We were talking last week, Jason, about how that group of running backs they had. Outside of Pacheco, there was Clyde, who, as we knew, was sort of unreliable during training camp, and as it turns out now he's on the NFI list. And they got at that time, Carson Steele also, who was a young guy who had never played in the NFL. I mean, you're talking about some real unknowns here in terms of Clyde and Carson Steele behind Pacheco, but now they've got veteran there who they feel pretty good about. So this was a pretty good need for them, no doubt.
I'm thinking, from the Denver Broncos perspective, and I think those questions are legitimate of, okay, so why did the Broncos move on from this guy if he's going to be a player that can help out or impact the Chiefs in some way, shape, or form? And I think the organizations are in just different spots right now, where the Chiefs are trying to win a Super Bowl. And, the Broncos, they've got their main running back in Javonte Williams. The Chiefs have Isaiah Pacheco, but they've got Julian McLaughlin, and they just drafted Audric Estime, and an undrafted free agent for them. I mean, Carson Steele for the Chiefs, but an undrafted free agent for them. Blake Watson, I believe, led all of FBS in receptions as a running back last year, and Sean Payton's glowing about what he can do as a receiving back. And I wonder if they just look at it and go, we got 3 younger backs and our main Javonte Williams guy. 2 of those 3 are pass catchers that can be third down backs. We're going to develop them as opposed to a Samaje Perine, and we'll save, a little over $1 million by moving on from Perine at the same time. I'm hoping that's the thought process and not they looked at it and said he doesn't have anything left.
Well, that's the thing that occurred to me is that $1 million savings you talk about is not any small thing. Particularly when you think remember that the Broncos are carrying this massive cap hit for Russell Wilson right now. So, I think that probably was at least part of their consideration there. Is, hey, can we save $1 million by going with a younger player? And that's something we need to do.
Yeah, and we're not trying to win a Super Bowl this year, so do we need that great veteran in the backfield, or do we develop a Blake Watson and an Estime and a McLaughlin and see what we have in Williams to go along with Bo Nix? I mean, could be part of the overall process. Adam Teicher from ESPN is our guest. The decision to put Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the NFI list. Adam, you or Nick or Matt Derrick, somebody had asked Andy a couple of weeks ago about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and asking him about the IR. Is that a possibility? And Andy said, well, we haven't gone there. We're not going there. with the thought process around Clyde. But I don't know if it was something that they had thought about for a while, or Samaje Perine became available and it made it more viable, more likely. But what do you make of the timing and the decision for Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be placed on the NFI list?
Well, I think this was headed in this direction for a long time, and certainly the Chiefs were thinking about this, the what-if aspect of it. And we all were asking the what-if aspect, because you know how the season is. It's fast and furious from the Chiefs' standpoint, and they can't. It sounds harsh, but it's the truth. You can't wait around for somebody who may not be able to practice or play on a given day, and that's. It is harsh, but that's kind of the way it is. So this didn't surprise me in the least when the news came down, because it was headed this way. I mean, I think this was the logical outcome. I didn't think the Chiefs were just going to cut him and let him go. I thought he'd be placed on the injured list, and sure enough, he was, because he doesn't appear that he's ready for the regular season to start. Maybe he can make it back later in the year. We'll see about that. But for now, I think this was the logical outcome.
Maybe this is just throwing a dart in the dark, but do you think he plays this year?
I have my doubts. But, it's a long season, and you never know. And maybe if the Chiefs have an injury and things – he's able to better handle how he's doing with the PTSD, then, I think that's possible. But it's hard to say right now. Things are going to have to get better for him for sure.
How much do you think – last one, and we'll take a break and we'll come back with another segment but before Chiefs practice starts. But how much do you think Samaje Perine will play coming up on Thursday night?
On Thursday, well, I can't imagine it'll be a whole lot.
Yeah.
I maybe 15 plays, something like that. I think what'll be telling maybe is if the Chiefs activate for the game one of their practice squad running backs, then I think you might have a clue that he's not going to play a whole lot, because then they feel like they might need an extra guy. But if they don't, then I think he might play some more. So if they leave it just Pacheco, Perine, and Steele, I think he might play more than you would think he would, just showing up here on a Sunday or a Monday, whenever he got here.
And as he said, it's not ideal to try to learn the playbook a few days before the season starts. Adam Teicher from ESPN, our guest, presented by Twin Peaks. Adam, we'll take a quick timeout, come back, one more quick segment, get a thoughts on the defense, and then a prediction for the Ravens game. More Zone right after this. staff. Maybe there's influence from the coaches. I don't know. But Jalen Watson is starting opposite of Trent McDuffie. So that's the second cornerback with Joshua Williams backing him up. And Najee Johnson backing up Trent McDuffie. But the defense overall, does it take a step back? And if it does, how much of a step back do you think they take from being one of the best defenses in the NFL last year?
Yeah, I don't know about how this is going to go as the season goes along. You know, maybe it's just a little too early to predict how this is going to go, but I just don't sense that they're in a good place right now with all the things that went on, including the fact they had so many defensive injuries and have not had really much practice time with a lot of their key guys, including guys like Nick Bolton and Chris Jones and Justin Reed, Jalen Watson. I mean, it's been really they've been really having to mix and match, and I just don't know that this is a defense that's ready to start the season. You know, it's easy to forget now after last year when the Chiefs came out of the gate strong on defense and kind of kept it up the rest of the season. But you know, Steve Spagnuolo, we were talking before last year about how his defenses tend to start the season slowly and get better as the season goes on. And I'm wondering whether this is going to be one of those defenses, you know, whether it's going to take them some time to figure it out. And so, you know, I don't think they're going to be horrible on Thursday night defensively, but you know, let me put it this way. The Chiefs won the AFC Championship last year against Baltimore by scoring 17 points. I don't think 17 points is going to get it done on Thursday night. They're going to need to score more than that if they're going to win the game. So I'm really curious to see where the Chiefs are defensively and how the Chiefs are going to cover for L'Jarius Sneed and some of the things that Spagnuolo has in plan, and I want to see what Jaden Hicks's role is in all this, because I think you've heard me talk about him. He needs to play. He just can't be a special teams guy and an occasional force safety or whatever. I think he needs to play.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And it's interesting. It's a good point about early on in the season versus later in the year. You know, last year they started off pretty strong. Even without Chris Jones, because they had returned so many players in the defense, you know, talking about, hey, you know, we weren't trying to teach younger guys about the defense. We were stacking on things that we had gone through and talked about the year before. And I certainly think they can do that with all the guys returning. But, you know, that communication, the chemistry, even though they've played together a number of these guys for a couple of years, at least one, that maybe there is some of that. I do wonder week number one, while there might be some questions at cornerback 2 and 3 and what that looks like after, you know, with L'Jarius Sneed gone, but after Trent McDuffie, I do believe this team, you know, last year certainly was better run defense. And I think early on, at least I'm hoping early on, that they will be a better run defense team, especially with their defensive line that's probably more suited to stop the run than it is to rush the passer. But then the question would be, all right, run fits, playing next to somebody, you know, through training camp as opposed to being injured, and you know, doing some of those right things, basing it off what your teammate's doing. But I do expect this team to be a good run defense team, whether that impacts Thursday night to where they're going to be playing at a high level run defensively or not. But I think that's going to be a strength of this team, is to slow other teams down on the run defense. We'll find out if that actually is the case. It's just one of the things that I believe about this defense is that they'll be better against the run than they will against the pass this year.
Yeah, and they might be. You know, way too early to tell. But, you know, I think the Chiefs have the pieces to get it done. I really do. You know, that to me is not the issue on defense. I just feel like there's just so much that feels disjointed right now with them defensively, and that to me is a bigger issue. And how quickly can they iron these problems out? I mean, you know, they're playing against two pretty good teams right out of the gate here. So, are they ready for that challenge?
Yeah. Will the offense take a step forward that will be equal to the defense that could take a step back or even more? I talked about in the last segment of the previous hour that if we're just using numbers here, let's say the Chiefs' offense was a 5 and last year the defense was a 10. Well, that's 15. Can, you know, both of them be an 8 this year, and now it's a 16, and so they're actually performing a little bit better? How much, if at all, do you think the offense will take a step forward and look more like 2022 than it did 2023.
Yeah, well, I'll put it that way. I do think it'll look closer to what we've known the Pat Mahomes offenses to be, as opposed to last year. Now, that's a pretty low bar, but still, I think it will be closer to that. Is that going to be enough to overcome maybe any defensive, any step back by the defense that there might be? Yeah, probably, but I don't know. I mean, it's a weird dance here, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, no doubt.
All right, do you have a prediction for what you think happens on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are the better team, and I'll take them to win maybe 27-23, something like that. But I think it's going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to this one and seeing what Baltimore brings in as well. With Derrick Henry now, it's a different they're a different team now, so interested to see what they bring as well.
Adam Teicher from ESPN, presented by Twin Peaks. Adam, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir. Get out to practice and enjoy the game on Thursday night, and we'll talk next week.
All right, good stuff, Jason. Talk to you then.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher. Chiefs practice starting in about 12 minutes from now, so he's heading out there to cover what you can cover, what they allow you to cover early on in practice, some warm-ups, some individuals, things like that. And then we'll hear from Andy Reid coming up at 1 o'clock, and then select players will be at the podium on a quote-unquote Fast Friday for the Chiefs today with Andy Reid. But he's got the Chiefs winning 27-23, believing that the Chiefs are the better team. But, concerns this year, at least early on, as he said that he doesn't sense the defense, doesn't sense they're in a good spot right now with what's gone on with the injuries, et cetera, and it doesn't feel like a defense that's completely ready to start the season, which is – it wasn't the case last year because last year they had so many guys returning, and it was, stacking on plays and scheme versus the year before when you had to slowly integrate with rookies and new guys coming in, and at the end of the season they looked really good. Last year, week 1, week 2, 3, it was, wow, how much better. And Justin Reed talked about it.
Sure.
McDuffie, Snead, just like, wow, all off season these guys have been here, and everything is just flowing. And the one guy that needed to integrate into that was Drew Tranquill, and he picked it up like that. And it was like, wow, look at all the stuff now we're adding. And it's not like they're going back to square one or anything. They don't have to start over.
No.
But they haven't had guys out there. Justin Reed hasn't been practicing that much. Nick Bolton's been, in and out of the lineup. Chris Jones has missed the last 2-3 weeks of practice. You've seen the cornerback spot just be a continual revolving door that's been going on. So, there's certainly some questions of continuity and chemistry, and Brian Cook, and Justin Reed haven't played together since week 15 last year.
Wow, yeah, good point.
Except for a couple practices because Brian Cook got injured, Mike Edwards came in, and then Justin Reed hadn't practiced in training camp until, a couple of weeks ago, and he's sort of just been out there a little bit, but not like fully playing, pads on, hitting, things like that. So it's been more, Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook playing, next to each other this offseason. So we'll see what comes with that. But those guys played together last year a lot, and I don't expect it to take much for the chemistry to gel with the guys who have had some injuries in training camp that have been here for a couple of years already. That I don't think will be an issue where it's like, man, well, Bolton just went through the wrong gap because he thought this guy was going to be there. Oh, Bolton and Tranquill ran into each other. If they had just had a little more training camp practice together, that wouldn't have happened. Like, I don't expect to see like a, motley crew of players out there, Keystone Cops just running into each other because
just
they
singing
played.
Girls, Girls, Girls,
exactly
and
right.
Live Wire
that's exactly
and Dr. Feelgood.
Yep, hopefully it is a lot
Who's
of
Vince
Dr.
Neil
Feelgood.
in this instance?
Bolton.
I don't like that.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to like it all you want. You
Who's
asked the
Tommy
question.
Lee then?
Tranquill.
Okay. 46.5.
Actually, I've got it right here. It's 46.5. What's the over, as I've got my format right in front of me that lists the lines and the over-unders? 46.5. Yeah, he's got
Is
that.
that bad that I know what the over-under is just off the top of my dome?
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, we're a couple days away.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. The NFL, we've been watching college football for 2 weeks now. Okay, you're back in
I'm back,
that
baby.
mindset.
I
you know?
almost always rip the under first few weeks of the NFL season, especially the first two, just because I think teams offensively are trying to get back, and I think defense typically has the advantage early on in the season, right?
Yeah, typically.
I'm going against myself here.
Okay.
I think the over hits in this game against the Ravens. I think the Chiefs. I'm gone back and forth on who wins this game, but I think the over hits in this game. I think the Chiefs' offense. You see a revamped offense, but I will say early on in the season I have some concerns about the Chiefs' defense.
Yeah.
Long term, I don't, but the first couple weeks, I do have some concerns with the Chiefs' defense. So I feel more comfortable with the over, which I can't wait for the under to hit. It's going to be a 13-7 ball game. Can't wait for that. But
I don't know. That offense put 17 points on the board against what I think is a better defense for the Ravens last year. I think it's a little bit lesser of a defense in personnel-wise, although the cornerback spot I think is legit. But they have a new defensive coordinator, new defensive line coach, new linebackers coach, new defensive backs coach, no Patrick Queen, no Davian Clowney. And that offense last year put 17 points on the board against the Ravens. I think they can get to 28 in this game. 27. I think they can get 5 scoring drives with at least 3 touchdowns.
You know what?
That gets you to 27. And then you need the Ravens to get to 20, though. I mean, if the Chiefs only get to 27, that's quick math to get you to the over 46.5, but he's got 27-23. I don't know. What's that? You okay?
Whoa. Are they going to overcorrect their mistake of the AFC Championship by refusing to run the ball, and they're going to overdo the running side?
It's a great question.
And that might be why it's such a low over-under.
And I think the answer is yes.
I agree.
I think they are going to run it, and run it more, and run it more, and run it more. It's the same offensive coordinator. He heard it all offseason. You abandoned the run. You abandoned the run. You abandoned the run. I push back on them abandoning the run because, again, you can say abandon the run, or I would phrase it, they were doing what was working.
Yeah.
Because the running game wasn't working. The Chiefs were better against the run last year. They were running the ball and getting stuffed. The one run they had was the Lamar Jackson keeper. That was a holding penalty that they didn't call. Like the lane opened up because it was Pennell or somebody just got pulled back from filling that, and Lamar Jackson cut through and ran 39 yards. Other than that, name the run that Gus Edwards or Justice Hill had in the game. He didn't. In fact, they came out of halftime and they handed off to Gus Edwards, and Justin Reed popped him for a loss of 2 yards. And it was like, oh, yeah, Chiefs are still here. And was that just going to change in the second half all of a sudden when the Chiefs up by 10? They were just going to they were just going to not be able to stop the run after they had done it the first half. Up by 10, they were just going to forget how to stop the run. No, there's a reason why the first 7 drives of the game, the Ravens gained 119 yards while mixing in run and pass. And the last 4 drives of the game, the Ravens picked up 200 yards, handing it off once. One time they handed off to Gus Edwards. They picked up 200 yards.
And tell me this, Jason. If you were a D coordinator going up against the Ravens in that type of game, I know what I would do. Lamar Jackson's going to have to throw for 450 yards to beat me. And if he beats me that way,
and
great.
I'm doing the same thing this weekend or Thursday night. I'm doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Especially with Derrick Henry. I'm coming up. I'm throwing exotic stuff at the right side of their offensive line.
Run blitzes.
Because they've got 2 new guys at right guard, right tackle, both inexperienced, no matter who plays. I mean, John Harbaugh talked about maybe rotating right tackle. Great. I mean, I'm lining Chris Jones up there because now you're taking away either Likely or Mark Andrews to keep him in to help out. So, yeah, I'm going to make Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar beat me. And so I'm going to come in and stop the run. So if they can't run the ball and in the second half they throw it a lot and end up losing, I'm looking forward to they abandon the run conversation again.
I'm doubling Andrews and making sure I'm covering the run, and that's it.
So Florida and Miami took place this weekend, Sterling. I don't know if you saw the debacle that was the Florida Gators.
I watched
Miami
that
came
game,
in, and Cam Ward looks really good. He was one of the most coveted quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I had talked about that if Brady Cook, if something were to happen, or if Eli wanted to just go, you know what, we're going to upgrade Brady Cook and go get Cam Ward. But, I mean, if Brady Cook was not eligible this year, if he had run out of eligibility, then Cam Ward would have been the number one guy to go and get. But Miami got him, and he was awesome against Florida, and it was a debacle and an embarrassment for the Gators to get beat down at home like that against Miami, and then Billy Napier couldn't open up his water bottle, which added insult to injury. That sucks for him.
That was hilarious to watch.
This would have been my funniest yesterday if I was in, is a Gators fan. This is about a 3-minute rant. Oddly enough, there are no curse words in this rant, so good for him. But this was him leaving the game after getting beat down by Miami.
My name is Josh Bray, and I come to y'all humble as I can. It's game 1. I love the Florida Gators. I die for the Florida Gators. The University of Florida football team has me sitting in front of a Denny's, damn it. When the last time you on purpose went and sat in front of a damn Denny's, damn it? I'm not saying nothing disrespectful to Denny's, but there's a lot of other options. And that Gator team, after watching, Miami fans came in there. I've never seen nothing like this. It would look like it was about 12 of them at the start of the game. And then it multiplied. Went from 12 to 20,000 to 40,000. They had a little corner in the left side of the stadium over there, and they were saying things I wanted to know so bad what they was chanting at us. And then the damn quarterback, he was moving in fast, slow motion. He was looking like Neo in the Matrix. He ain't look that great, but damn it, he was great. There were so many Haitian men and Cuban men and Asian men and women and white men and women. Miami brought a melting pot. They brought a whole damn crayon to the University of Florida, and they just scribbled all over our damn stadium. I am 40. I'm trying to lose weight. The doctor said if I yell, my blood pressure gonna be high. My blood pressure is higher than Carmen Electra ass in the 90s right now. You understand me? I am in front of a damn Denny's right now. A Denny's right now. That is Denny's out there. Florida Gators, y'all supposed to make me want to go to Roof Chris. Y'all supposed to make me want to go to Roof Chris and get a medium steak, because I know how to eat a medium steak now, in the water with a couple of lemon. I want to be exotic. I throw a lime in there. But no, you got me in Denny's where I'm not sure if the damn plates are clean and they wash their forks. But you know what? I don't care. I ain't finna go in here and ask for no plastic. My fat ass finna go in here and sit at the bar. You know how pathetic I gotta be to sit at a damn bar in Denny's? I'm not going to Tootsie's no more in Miami. I'm not going to Tootsie's. I am going to Tootsie's. I'm just going, because y'all took everything else away from me. Might as well take the rest of the little bitty ass money I got, because y'all came to Gainesville on the damn Saturday at 3:30 and ruined my damn day. I got a whole night to go through. It was so many. Carolina said that. South by say they throwing up the stupid ass you, touching their thumbs at the same time. And then the Miami women fan base is so damn fine that you mad and you angry, but everything they wearing is hypnotic. I'm talking about from 25 to 65. I seen a woman that was 72 years old with a white sweater. Baby, you can take them to... I can't go through this no more. I can't do this no more. All I want to do is tell jokes and root for the Gators, and we win a little bit. I understand we're going to lose sometimes. My delusion has become real. My delusion has become real. My delusion is real. I am in front of a damn Denny's right outside of Gainesville, and I am stressed. My box is just broke right now.
It was just an epic rant.
Did he finish that with my boxers that just broke right now?
That's right.
Like his drawers?
But he's not. I'm not going to Texas. All right, I'm going to go to Texas. But they go to Texas November 9th. Because you might as well take my money. You've taken everything else from me. They got Haitian men and women. They got Cuban men and women. They got Asian men and women. They got white men and women. They got a whole crayon. They're just coloring all over Gainesville. Oh, in front of a Denny's. I'm going to sit at the bar. You know how depressed you got to be to sit at a bar at a Denny's? Oh, he was going through it, man. He was going through it. An epic rant. I mean, that's going to be in the bracket of sound. I mean, that's already...
It's top tier.
That sound has already made the tournament. I mean, it doesn't even have to go through the regular season. It's going to be in the tournament already.
That was strong.
That would have been my funniest yesterday after Florida got embarrassed by Miami. The fans were so hot, they're just hypnotic. Can't even be mad at them.
From 25 to 65.
Oh, my God. All right, we'll talk with Les Norman, breaking the norm, coming up next. personal injury, seeking compensation. Call Biesterveld and Crook, 913-LAW-5050, 913-LAW-5050. We just like to jam out a little bit here, Dylan, with the music playing. Head games. And that's what you guys were just singing in here.
That's exactly
Head
right,
games.
because I knew that Dylan was going to
You knew Head Games was the song he was playing?
One of. I knew we were leading into
all right.
Head. Hey, coming into this studio on Tuesday, it is Head Games.
Is that right?
The Royals
Head
right now,
games.
when Vinny went down, it's head games.
It's a headache is what it is.
It is.
They're cold as ice right now, quite frankly.
You know what? It's getting pretty urgent. It is.
So let's talk about this.
Schneid.
Let's talk about this Vinny Pasquantino fella. Let's hear from him. Vinny talked yesterday before the game and gave an update on the injury and surgery, timeline, and where his headspace is.
So I haven't had surgery yet. We tried on Friday. We came to, I had like a 8 a.m. flight out of Houston, went straight to the doctor's office, got scanned. There was just too much swelling in it, so you can't see it now. I've got it splinted, but the swelling's gone down quite a bit. I'm meeting with the surgeon later today, and hopefully if that meeting goes well, we're going to have it tomorrow. As far as timeline goes, I have my own timeline I'm thinking about, and in my mind I'm going to stick to that, but yeah, they said 6 to 8 weeks, so that's what they said. You know, the important thing is the bone has to heal. Like, that is number one, the bone has to heal. But we are going to attack this thing about as hard as you can attack something. The difference between last year and this year is, we are pushing right now. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen, whatever that needs to be. We're just going to continue to attack it, try to get it as strong as we can, and see what happens from there. But in my mind, my season's not over.
That's coming from Vinny Big Ones right there. That's Vinny Big Ones.
How much do you think it's saying out loud what he hopes to be true versus reality of they wanted to get the surgery on Friday so they could immediately start that 6-week timetable? Too much swelling. He said yesterday, hopefully having surgery tomorrow, which is today, but they also have to check to make sure if he's surgery eligible with the thumb and the swelling. If he has surgery today, 6 weeks, which would put you game 3 of the ALCS. That's the 6-week timetable to come back. 8 weeks would be game 2 of the World Series if he was on the inside of it. In his mind, his season is not over. I understand that mindset, and I think he should have that mindset to fight and do what he can to get back. But that's a tough one to come back from, the front thumb on, swinging. I mean, you're a guy that, has swung a bat 1 million times in your life. That front hand, bottom hand thumb, how important is that for a player?
It's everything. If you don't have that thumb, you can't. I mean, opposable thumbs, you can't hit without just wrapping your fingers around the bat. You can't hit without it. And when you don't have the strength, when you don't have the control, then something else is compensating. Your right hand compensates, and let's completely rule out that part and come back into even if you are healthy enough to do it, you're talking about either the ALCS or the World Series with no timing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to practice and hit and get timing back before you get into those games. And so that's 4 and 5 weeks. You can't just go 1 week. I mean, I think in the past, Kyle Schwarber did it once, and had a couple good games, and that was great, and then he struggled. So, yeah, if this was July, I'd be like, dude, let's go, because
agreed.
Especially when some of your superstars have major injuries like that, or injuries to key places that, it's like Bobby Witt. I don't even want to say it, but if he can't throw across a diamond, right hand, you could probably pull through. You wouldn't be the same, but if you can't throw, you can't play shortstop. Same with any outfielder, same with any position player. And so it's one of those situations where I feel like you can speed it up, you can put compression on it, you can ice it, you can suffer yourself through it, and you could be ready. But is that what's best for your team? Because you could possibly be a hole in your lineup. Now it's 9 against 8 in the playoffs.
Didn't Salvi come back from a similar injury in like 4 weeks? I know they rushed him back, but wasn't Salvi? Didn't he have surgery on his thumb and came back in like 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken?
And was a catcher
But he's also different. He's built different.
Right.
But.
And I think it's an interesting distinction that Vinny brought up and said, last year, as opposed to this year, we're going for it. That saying, last year I could take my time with the rehab, with the labrum. Like it was surgery, taking my time, coming back, making sure I'm fully ready to go because we were losing 106 games. Where this year, I'm going to force it. Yep. I'm going to press it. I'm going to try to get back and do what and then when the off season, then I'll go through another rehab with the thumb. And if I have to have surgery again because I pushed it too much this time, hopefully it doesn't impact like later on down the road, but I don't think the Royals organization would let him do that. If they thought this would be something that would become like chronic or anything like that, where his thumb would be compromised moving forward. But yeah, there is a truncated timeline for him. I'm with you. If this was in July, it's like, all right, hold court, stay afloat, get Vinny back in time for the playoffs.
Right.
And the problem with him being eligible for the ALCS if he comes back is, can this team get there without Vinny? That's a big part of your lineup.
Right. Look, he's not going to be ready, and it's not wise, at least as far as physically. It really can't help the team. But here's why I like him talking like that, and why I like him trying, is because you could literally, well, not literally, of course, but almost literally hear the air coming out of the tires when he went down. And he is such an integral, emotional leader, vibe guy, atmosphere, all that. I mean, Vinny is bigger, larger than life in that clubhouse and on that field. And when he goes down, you could hear the air coming out of the tire, man. Yeah. You could hear the hissing from across the country. And so at least with him saying, hey, I'm going to fight, it gives his presence still around that clubhouse like, look, you guys have just lost 5 in a row. Let's go. Let's go to work, man. I'm fighting to get back. You fight until I get back. And he may not get back this year, but he's giving them an extra reason to fight. And that's what emotional leaders do.
What's if you could take us into that clubhouse, what's the shock of that like for this team, especially maybe Thursday after the game, when everybody has a pretty decent idea of what's going on?
Thursday through Saturday, it was you're going to play the game of the leaders are going to step up like, hey, it's not just one guy, but behind the scenes, behind your eyeballs, in your heart of hearts, in your brain, you're sitting there after a game, you're just like, gosh, dang it. You feel bad for him, breaks your heart for him because he's such a genuine guy and that leader. In his first year, he got hurt and he fought and came back, and now he's so close to 100 RBIs.
97.
I know. 97 RBIs. That stinks. And he's probably going to end with 97 RBIs.
Yes,
I mean, it is
especially
what it
regular
is.
season. He's going to end
absolutely. It's guaranteed.
RBIs. Yeah.
So that hurts. But then now comes Sunday. You're adding a 40-year-old first baseman. You're adding Tommy Pham as a leadoff hitter. Grossman, has Grossman played yet?
Not yet.
He hasn't played yet. So you're adding 3 new guys. That it's a great culture in that clubhouse that you're going to accept them. However, it's different. Those guys haven't been riding with you the whole way. Those guys haven't been through the same adversities and battling. And, they weren't in maybe at different teams they might have been, but they weren't the Royals team that lost 106 games last year. And so you're factoring new guys in that are jumping right to the starting lineup. So when you have new guys come in that are jumping into the starting lineup, you've got guys that aren't playing. And you tell me those guys aren't going to sit there like, man, that sucks, And so there's a whole new pain dynamic without Vinny, and a whole new shakeup in the clubhouse that's not the same. They're mature enough to deal with it, but deal with it they will have to, because it will make a difference in whether they can.
How much of this, and probably no way we can quantify it, but Thursday night is when everything happened with Urseg and Vinny, and they end up losing that game, which sucked. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they end up losing those games as well. But Houston's a really good team and is surging, and I don't want to play Houston in the playoffs.
Nope.
At all. And so we knew the pitching matchup on Friday was in the favor of the Houston Astros. Well, actually, on Thursday we talked about it before what happened with Vinny, that the Houston Astros had the pitching matchup, not knowing about Vinny being gone. But how much is this? They just are playing good teams. Houston's a really good team, and they could have swept them if Vinny was in the lineup. And Cleveland's a good team, and could have won yesterday if Vinny's in the lineup. And how much of this is maybe a Vinny hangover, and they just have to get past this to get back to playing. All right, we know he's gone. We know he's not here. We got to go and play. We got to go and win, because we can still make the playoffs And now we have to truly believe this was not just one guy. How much of the weekend was maybe a Vinny hangover, and is that still going on, or is it should be past him by now?
I think the first few days were Vinny hangover. I mean, that's how much love and respect they have for the guy. It better be a hangover when immediately 100 RBIs get sucked out of your lineup. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal, not to mention what I talked about on the emotional side of everything. But when you come off a hangover of losing 2 and 3, and now all of a sudden you sometimes you can't just snap your fingers because you gotta get this new guys assimilated into the lineup and assimilated into the locker room and the culture and all that. I mean, you get Tommy Pham coming in here, who's about as type A as you can get. I mean, this is a guy that smacked Jock Peterson around the outfield in batting practice. So, I mean, he's a whole different dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Gurriel, again, he can hit, got great experience, but he's 40.
And now he's got a hamstring.
And now he's got a bad hamstring. Yeah. But, I wasn't sure it was a hamstring because he jogged like that all the time. He never ran hard anyway.
But he was dealing with a hamstring injury with the Braves, AAA.
Right.
So they brought him over, put him in the lineup, and then...
The last I've seen, it's called a super mild hamstring strain.
Yeah,
so
Hoover said yesterday.
It's called 40-year-old hammy.
Yes, exactly. That's what Hoover said yesterday. It's super mild with the hamstring, and it was all precaution, and he felt it, and he didn't want to bust it down to second base and hurt it worse, so he did what he could to get there without hurting it worse, and then came out of the game. So
he probably strained it when he scored from first on Garcia's double. That's probably where it first started.
Probably
and he felt
right about that.
Yeah. So I mean, hangover, not hangover, I think it factors in. But the bottom line is that if you start playing wide-eyed, if you start playing not to lose, and look, guys do it at the big league level. You coach little man. They get scared sometimes. They play not to lose, and you got grown men who don't. They're not little boys anymore. They're making big money, and intellectually they know what's going on, and they got to get over it. But you can't change a feeling sometimes. You can't change that vibe sometimes, and so it has to. Every game now is important, obviously, because there's a playoff. They're in playoff contention, and there's always that conversation. But now you got to be able to win tonight to get through that emotional weird schneid that they're on right now, and if that doesn't happen, boy, the only team we're going to be paying attention to is the Red Sox, who, by the way, are thinking about putting Devers down for the season.
Yeah, I went through the numbers in the first hour or less about I don't know what the Royals will do in the playoffs, but I'm pretty confident they're going to be in the playoffs.
Sure,
they're still 79% to make the playoffs at Fangraphs. But also just simply doing the math of the whole thing, that the Royals have 24 games left, or 23 games left. Boston has 24. If the Royals go 9-14 in these 23 games, Boston has to go 14-10.
Right.
Play 600 ball against Baltimore, New York.
Not happening.
2 against the Mets that are a half game out. They've got 6 against the Rays, who have been playing better baseball than the Red Sox since the trade deadline. Somehow the Rays are playing better baseball than the Red Sox over that time. They've got to go 14-10. And that's if the Royals go 9-14.
Sure.
Against, they've got 3 against Pittsburgh, 3 against San Francisco, 3 against Washington. Those are teams that are already out of it, that aren't competing for a playoff spot.
Which are sometimes dangerous, though.
Which are dangerous sometimes, but
nothing to lose.
But also you might be shutting guys down. Like Pittsburgh coming up September 10 days from now. We might be watching Paul Skeens' last start or two. He may not be in the rotation those 3 games anyway. But even if his turn comes up, they're close to shutting him down for the season because they're 10 games out now. They were competing for a little bit. They were close. They were within arm's length, the reaching distance, but now they're 10 games out with 24 to play for them. You don't need Paul Skeens out there because now he's not going to win Rookie of the Year anyway.
Right.
So you've lost out on that because Jackson Merrill is just on a freaking different world right now. Jackson Merrill is close to what Bobby Witt was post All-Star game right now. He is
crazy,
stupid hot.
Yep.
He has gone from plus 400 to be the Rookie of the Year to minus 250. All right. So now Skeens isn't going to win Rookie of the Year anyway. Might as well shut him down.
Might as well. I mean, he's thrown a lot of pitches in a lot of different levels, and when you throw 108 Kelvin miles an hour, that you probably could use the rest.
Yeah, I mean, the Royals still have a tough stretch of Minnesota and New York, and then starting September 13th is when they play Pittsburgh for 3, Detroit for 3, which is a big series because they're 5 games up on Detroit right now. San Francisco for 3, Washington for 3, and then they end the season with Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which could be a big one because both teams could be fighting for the playoffs. Atlanta's a half game out. Atlanta's a half game up on the Mets right now for that final wild card spot. So I think we'll know pretty much going into that Atlanta series if the Royals are in the playoffs or not.
And it would be nice to go to Atlanta with a little bit of, okay, it doesn't matter. Let's just stay healthy. Let's get through these games. We've already iced the whole thing. We're good to go. And so, yeah, it would be not that they're going to bag those games, but still, it would be nice to have that little bit of rest, get some other guys some time in. You know, forbid we give Bobby Witt Jr. an inning or two off. I mean, you know, the guy's been playing every inning and everybody else's innings. So
gave him a day off in the field yesterday, put him at DH.
Yeah.
So breaking that streak of how many games he played shortstop. But the math isn't in the favor of the Red Sox, Tigers, or Mariners.
Yeah.
It is very much in the favor of the Royals, even if they play bad baseball. The White Sox have found ways to win games, and they're a truly historically awful team. The Royals without Vinny are still a good team, even with they've won games when Vinny wasn't in the lineup, by the way. Games where Vinny had the day off, they've still won games. Again, go 9-14, and you force the Red Sox to play 600 ball the rest of the way.
Right.
I mean, the Tigers and the Mariners have to play better.
Yeah,
they have to play better than 600 ball the rest of the way. So
you make me feel better, Jason.
I'm just saying, like it could be. I'm not saying they're guaranteed, but it would take a cataclysmic drop-off choke job for the Royals while the other teams are playing above their head of what they've played all year when they're playing some of the better teams at the end of the season, which is what Major League Baseball typically does. Although it is weird for the Royals' last 9 games of the season to be against the National League.
You know how sometimes when you shake someone's hand, just like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And then you pull away, and they're firming their grip longer and hold you, and then you turn back to them. And the question, this happened to me like 5 times in church on Sunday. What's going on with your Royals, man?
Oh, God.
It was unbelievable. It was like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Turn away like, oh, dislocation. What's up? What's up with your Royals, dude? Like, I'm in church. They're playing. I don't know. You know,
it's Les, what is going on with your Royals?
You know, I guess maybe I'm just not paying them enough.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I went out and got the wrong free. I don't know.
Did you get a different banking account? Did the checks bounce? Or?
I come in dressed for the gym right now, just to throw you guys off a little bit.
Let me ask you that, because I think that's an interesting part.
My clothes?
Why you dressed for the gym?
Your clothes, dressed for the gym, church, the strong handshakes, all of it. I want to encapsulate it. I want to wrap it all into one thing. But
playing head games.
You mentioned that you're not paying them enough. So let's go from that standpoint, from the front office. Has nothing to do with paying the players enough. But you lose Vinny, and JJ 2 days later goes out and gets Tommy Pham, Robbie Grossman, and Yuli Gurriel. What does that say to the clubhouse?
Well, it says that we are absolutely serious. We're in it right now. That's for sure. I think that JJ and the permission that he's gotten to do the things he's done is awesome. I like that fact. I didn't look and see, so I'm not going to say, man, are those the best guys? I don't know who was out there. I don't know who was available.
They have to put them on waivers.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you have to get them on waivers.
You don't just go out and get, I want that guy, so let's go get him. It doesn't work. There's a process. There's legalities, so you do what you can do. But I give him an A for getting out there and trying. He could have just said, okay, well, we gave it a really good shot. And so, now we're just going to limp into the wild card, probably make it by the skin of our teeth, and probably bow in that first round. So, no, it shows that, hey, we are committed to the city. We're committed to the team. We're committed financially. We're going to do everything that we can. So, I give him an absolute A for that. When, Gurriel went down with that whole, what was it? Super minor. Super mild something.
Super mild.
Yeah,
super
absolutely.
mild? Okay. Sorry.
Super mild.
Super mild.
You're thinking, oh, here we go. That makes you wonder, okay, was he the best guy? Was he the best shot? Is it a AAA guy? So you can always second guess, but I'd give him an A for the fact that he's going out and being serious about trying to get this team into the playoffs. Now, look, momentum, even in the wild card, momentum going into the playoffs means nothing, in my opinion. I don't think it means anything. You get there. You just get there, and then you forget what's behind you. Now it's me against you. Let's go to work. We've seen it in the past. It's not always the big payroll. We've seen the Yankees win, but then some of the years with the big payroll, they didn't win. So that's the whole fight, and he's just trying to get him to that finish line so that he can start the new short race.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, if the Royals are going to be in the spot that they are, and they've got 3 against Minnesota coming up this week, and they're 1 game behind Minnesota. If they get the 6th and final spot into the playoffs, I'm hoping that Houston will catch Cleveland. So then Cleveland will be the third division winner. So then the Royals will go to Cleveland instead of Houston, because I like the chances of going on the road to face off against the Guardians.
Agreed.
And the Astros.
Agreed.
Hopefully that's the case. If the Royals get the second wild card, then they're going to either Baltimore or New York. Or maybe they just simply win the next two against Cleveland, and they're only 2.5 games out, and then maybe
just
they get
win.
hot.
I don't
Just
like
win.
all this. All this.
If they,
as long as they don't play historically bad.
No,
and these,
those are the
just
numbers.
win.
Oh, I agree. Just win.
Stop playing bad baseball.
Oh, that's cool
They're
to
playing
say.
like 2 scoops of ass. I'm just saying. Like I don't like all these numbers. Like
you don't like the numbers of even if they play bad, they're still going to make.
No,
You don't
at
like
some
those
point,
numbers.
just win.
So you don't like those
Sterling,
numbers.
ladies and gentlemen.
You would,
well done.
you would rather it be if they play bad, they don't make the playoffs.
No, but like at some point, just win. You're in a 6-game losing streak. You're playing bad baseball, and you lose one player. I love Vinny. He's a really good player. They didn't lose Bobby Witt Jr. They didn't lose him.
Well, they've
you
lost.
gotta find a way to win. Like you lost a first baseman who's a really good RBI guy, who's been quite frankly an above average bat, and he's been fairly bad defensively.
Yeah.
You can replace it for 20 games. I'm sorry.
Well, you can.
If you can't,
right.
That's on you.
But that's sort of the point, though, is that by replacing him, you've given yourself a chance to where you aren't the Red Sox or the Tigers or the Mariners losing Vinny and going, well, bleep, how are we now going to play 14-10 baseball to catch the Royals? You're the Royals saying, we've got to play good enough baseball. They're not saying that. They're trying to figure out a way to win. I'm talking about the numbers of people saying this team isn't going to make the playoffs now.
Oh, they're going to
This team is sinking. They're not going to make the playoffs. I'm like, no, do the math. The Royals have 5 more wins than the Red Sox right now. If they win 8 more games, that puts them at 83. That means the Red Sox have to win 13 more games the rest of the way. Like, do the simple math of making the playoffs. They need to be playing better, but it does give them a little bit of time before they get to the playoffs of figuring some things out as to solidifying, is Massey the number 3 hitter? Is Pham the leadoff hitter?
No, he's
Gosh,
not.
no.
Is Salvi the
Pham's
number
leadoff
3?
hitter.
Is
Yeah.
Salvi the number 3 hitter? Does Hunter Renfroe come back and be the 4 hitter when he's back? Like, they've got to figure some of those things out, and they've got 23 games to do that.
But my thing is just take care of business.
Oh, I agree.
Don't worry about what's happening behind
I
you.
agree.
Just take care of business. They're playing tight. I mentioned at the plate how many times they're scared to strike out. It looks like at times where you'll see Michael Garcia. It was a 2-1 count. Just almost hit a fungo to the second baseman. What do you? Because you don't want to get to a 2-strike count, or because you're too scared of actually trying to put a good swing on the ball. Kyle Isabel's just dropping his shoulder. Everything is just so long. What are you doing, Kyle? I like Kyle Isabel, but even that triple or the double, that the run scoring double. Let's be real now. 95% of the time, that's a fly out to left. That was a horrendous play by the left fielder there. I'm frustrated by the lack of confidence, and it all seemingly stems from one player going down. You see Cleveland. They're talking about the wind and the winds into your face. Didn't seem to be a problem for Cleveland.
I think some of it is. Vinny, but I also think Houston is a rough matchup.
No,
because
but even last night, Cleveland, they had 2 home runs, 3 home runs into the wind.
Two two-run shots.
Somehow, the wind didn't affect them. But the Royals player, they can't get it out. To me, they're just playing tight. They're not finishing. It's the same thing in golf.
Yeah.
Unless you'll know as good as anyone when it comes to baseball. You got to release. You got to be able to finish, and it just seems like the Royals are playing so tight, especially at the plate. They're nervous. They're not taking normal swings.
Yeah, there has to be some changes made. I mean, first of all, Vinny's hurt. Get over it. Let's go play baseball. If I see Massey hit one more fly out or pop up, I literally am going to go back to one of our local retail establishments and just buy more TVs. Because I'm just going to break every one of mine in the house that carries Royals games. I can't stand it. It's every single time that leaning out front, this rotation of the shoulders, and the lean back. It's a similar version of what you're saying Isabel's doing with the pop-up. Garcia has been hot for a while, but the swing is long. Again, one of the things we talked about was the key. Melendez in his 200, 215 batting average, whatever. Yes, he's gotten it up. Yeah. He's played some really good defense and some diving catches and all that. But he's still flying all over the place, and he's still inconsistent, and you can't afford inconsistency. You got to get hot, and you got to figure things out. And so I'm looking at different mechanical things. Hunter Renfroe, I hope he comes back, because sometimes the only thing that corrects a horrendous season is when a guy gets hurt and gosh, your production's been horrible. Go sit in a hole for a month and then come back and forget everything and just go play baseball. So to your point, Sterling, there's so many things that have gone wrong that just change it. And my gosh, bullpen. What in the wide world of sports is going on? And then finally, okay, Ursik, you made a bad throw. You tried to field a ball with your bare hand, blah, blah, blah. Get over it. Throw 100 miles an hour and strike some guys out.
Yeah, the J.J. Piccolo's updates on some of the injuries. Hunter Harvey has thrown a couple bullpen sessions. They're still waiting to see how he responds with that. Hunter Renfroe is expected to be back this weekend at some point against the Twins, hopefully sooner rather than later, but they expect to get him back this weekend. So you throw in Hunter Renfroe back into the lineup. Vinny is out. Hunter Renfroe's back in. Tommy Pham's in the lineup too. So, I mean, can you make up for Freddie Fermin and Tommy Pham? Can they come close to equaling what you were getting with Vinny's bat? Because you're losing Vinny, but that means more Freddie Fermin, and it means Tommy Pham.
Yeah, you're not going to get the RBIs out of those two.
No,
but you'll get some
but
hits.
But if Tommy Pham has moved into the leadoff spot, I like him leading off way more than Michael Massey or Michael Garcia.
Him leading off way more than anybody.
Well, that's exactly right. Anybody on the team right now.
Yeah.
The problem is, I wonder too how much Salvi and Bobby Witt have said, Vinny's out, it's got to be us.
Absolutely.
Because since
if you're a competitor,
Bobby
absolutely.
Since they lost, since they won those first 3 games against Cleveland, Salvi's 1 of 22 and Bobby's 4 of 24. And they're 5 of 46.
Yeah.
Well,
now,
you don't, again, loss of Vinny, but you can pitch those guys different now, a little bit.
Well, and I should point out for Witt, while he's 4 of 24, 3 of those 4 hits have been solo home runs.
Yeah.
Because
He's
guys
still
are
hitting balls hard, too.
Guys aren't getting on base in front of him. But the number 3 hitter, which there's a little crossover with Salvi, but the number 3 hitter without Vinny in the game is 1 of 15, 5 strikeouts, no walks since Vinny, injured his thumb. That's the number 3 hitter in the last 4 games. 2 of those Salvi, 2 of those Massey. But it's a lot of I think guys I think Bobby and Salvi putting pressure on themselves of, well, now I have to come through. And I think Massey being put in the number 3 hole. Okay, now I've got to be Vinny. Paul DeYoung moving up. Okay, well, now I've got to be Vinny.
I don't even want Massey to be Massey.
Yeah. Well, it's like I do think how much of that is the mindset of a baseball player that Vinny's down. Well, now I was batting 6th. Now I'm batting 5th. Okay, now I got to step up my game. All right, well, I got to step up my game. Like, that's natural, right? It's like a guy gets called up from AAA, and you're like, okay, well, now I've got to do this. Now I'm in the big leagues. When, the manager's probably talking to him and say, hey, we called you up for what you were doing.
Yes.
Don't change what you're doing.
Gosh, we've talked about this a lot, and you would think, look, it's a thing that people try to, I'm in this hole now, so I got to do this. I'm in an RBI. Okay, now I'm a leadoff guy, see pitches, steal bases, blah, blah, blah. You're in the big leagues because you do certain things really, really well. Do those things really, really well.
No matter what spot in the lineup
Doesn't
you are.
matter. If I'm the leadoff hitter and I can run fast, and look, I love the fact that I watch Stephen Kwan. I don't love it because he beats us with it, but he's going to bunt no matter where he hits in the lineup. If he's hitting 7, 8 hole, I mean, he's not going to, but he'll bunt in any situation because he's fast, because he plays the game. But then if the third baseman plays in, he'll take an outside pitch and shoot it down the line for a double or triple, because those are the things that he does well. If you're in a situation where Stephen Kwan has to hit 3rd or 4th, you're probably in more trouble than you want to think about. But he's not going to go up there all of a sudden and not try to bunt and play the defense.
He's not going to try to hit home runs.
Yes, he's not going to do it. And so you got to get over that part of it. I think what this team needs, it sounds kind of dumb because it seems like it's the answer a lot in these situations, but a guy like Michael Wacha has got to, coaches, get the heck out of the clubhouse. We're going to stand up. We're going to have a brief players-only meeting, and you need a veteran to breathe that reality back into the entire team. If you can do that and get that clubhouse loose, things will change. It doesn't mean they're going to win tonight, but it gives the attitude in the long stretch that, okay, Vinny's down. Vinny, love you. Go to the training room. We got work to do, and that's how it should be.
They need Crash Davis to give them a rain delay.
True.
I can get you guys a rain delay.
Now, do they need Crash Davis, or do they need John Dutton from Yellowstone? Yeah. That one, yeah. Which one do they need? Have you guys even not watched Yellowstone?
No, I've watched Yellowstone.
No,
I've
not.
I think they would need more of Crash Davis than John Dutton
to
help them in this specific situation, Les.
So I guess as a manager they need John Dutton, but as a player they need Crash Davis.
I was going to say John Dutton they needed last year.
Good point.
This year is more,
I don't know. There might have been some umpires and an occasional AAA guy that might have gone up to Wyoming and went down into the valley there.
No, you're right.
Would have taken the train?
Would have taken the train.
They need John Goodman in Big Lebowski.
Is that right?
That's what they need.
Or Raising Arizona.
Okay, I can see it.
Hey, I'd rather light your candle than curse your darkness.
That's what the Royals should be doing. Lighting candles, not curse the loss of any.
That's right.
Warzone next. You talking about how the Royals are playing right now, Dylan? They are, right now. How do you turn things around, Les?
By taking advice.
You realize that Lou Graham is one of the top 5 singers in history.
And then everything's different?
And everything's different.
I get it.
You just you sit down, you listen to some Foreigner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you just realize that hey, we lost, but that was yesterday. But although this is urgent, no more head games.
Okay. Can we
say you will, man. Just say you will.
Just because you lost a dirty white boy.
It's
a great song. Sorry, Vinny.
I'd rather win. I'd rather win. Go in the clubhouse.
In a deep left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run.
That's pretty good.
And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
You don't need to be a jukebox hero. You don't need to be one.
Well, but you could. That would be good if you were. Mm-hmm.
But don't try to be that, because if you're trying to be that and not coming through, we'll just do your job. You know what I mean?
And sometimes it's got to feel like the first time.
You've got the list of Foreigner songs.
I know, you
got
it right in front of you.
I don't have.
You got that lad. He's listening.
I'm gonna pull him up then too.
I don't have anything pulled. Look at this. I have nothing pulled up.
Dylan, look what we've created.
Sorry that I know songs. I know things.
I mean, right now it's urgent.
We've already made that one.
Sorry.
See, now we better start talking
sorry.
about it. That
I'm
pulled
seeing
us out.
double vision.
Nope, thank you. That pulled us out of it.
I was seeing double vision. We haven't done that one yet. No.
Great
we
song.
haven't. We haven't.
We haven't.
Good job.
Okay.
Do you think they're seeing double vision at the plate?
Maybe.
The ball's coming in.
Don't be so hard on Jason, man. He wants to know what love is.
No.
Let's love him.
The damage is done. The damage is done.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I've got the list in front of me right
I
now.
see. That's what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I want to. Yeah. So.
I won't rip on you too much, man. I don't want to live without you.
Well, when it comes to like these, advanced metrics, I'm blinded by science.
Oh, you can't put Thomas Dolby into a Foreigner conversation.
Yeah, it was just one of the names. It just came up here. It just came up here. Sorry.
Now I have Blinded by the Light by Manfred Mann's, Earth Band stuck in my head.
Les right now is hot-blooded.
Racked up like a deuce. Another roller in the night.
So anyway, how do they break out? Is it as simple as
Breakout? Great song by Foo Fighters. Let's do Foo Fighters songs now.
Great. Is it as easy as you just win a game? And
it's a short memory, because you also have another team that's really good on the other side of you. So if it were that easy, so let's just go out and win a game, and just do your own thing. You can be at peace and not stress and not be second guessing and get tight. If you go out there and give everything you have, in the break we're talking about like Michael Garcia's feel for swings or defensive swings. And Sterling, you said it so well. Look, I'm a bad golfer, but I can start putting some things together. I'm into the 80s now, but when I start getting defensive and start trying to do things like don't hit the house. Okay, you didn't hit the house because you hit it over the house, because you're changing things and you're trying to get a feel. Just do what you can do. Have a short memory. Forget about yesterday. Don't look at the stands. If you're looking at the stats, you're looking at the standings, then you got something to worry about. So short memory and just do what you can do, man. Win or lose, you're going to know that the Royals were here. That's the approach that you have to take instead of thinking about all the other stuff.
By the way, if I lived on a golf course and my backyard was like near the fairway, have you seen the video of the guy that whenever somebody hits it into his backyard,
yes,
he goes and lays down next to the ball?
That's outstanding.
And acts like he can't move. And then as the guy gets close, he sort of starts to roll around and slowly gets up, and they videotape it. And the golfer's like, dude, I'm so sorry. And he's like,
what's your deductible?
Is this yours, man? Is this the one you were playing? I would do that all the time.
All the time.
That's fantastic.
I will say, if you live on a golf course, though, and your house gets hit and you're mad, that's on you. You chose to live on a golf course.
Yeah.
Depends on how good the golf course is. If it's like some, random public course, then it's like, well, I expect there's going to be some guys. If I'm living on Augusta, like I don't want.
You're gonna get drilled on Augusta. You know how many people who you don't have to be good to be a member at Augusta.
No,
you have to be rich.
I want to live. I want to live on a golf course. You know what? I want to live next to Patrick Mahomes' par 3. I don't think my house is gonna get hit. Then.
You think Mahomes would never hit a bad shot? Then you don't know golf.
Oh, I think he owns enough property that my house wouldn't be close enough.
Oh, he owns enough.
And there are some holes on his course that you can hit houses.
Yeah, but
because on his course, I've hit a couple houses.
Wyndham Clark.
Not his par 3 personal.
Oh, I thought you were talking Loch Lloyd.
No.
You were talking about Loch Lloyd.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about like his personal.
No, not his personal. We are not that tight. No.
Yeah.
He does not know I exist.
Wyndham Clark won a major by slicing the ball so far right that if that was any course here, that's Lionsgate. That is hitting someone's house guaranteed. And that's a professional golfer who's won a major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll just have to cross that bridge when I come to it when I live on a golf course. I'll just have to deal with it when I eventually get there. When,
there you go.
When my wife and I build in Loch Lloyd, we'll just have to figure it out, I guess.
But back to your point, Les, as you're talking about playing tight, hitting houses with golf balls.
You can hit the lottery, right?
Yeah, you can. You have to play it.
That's a good point. I don't play it, so I guess I can't hit the lottery. That's correct. I mean, I wish it was simple as like, okay, you go out there and you win a game. But like to go out there and win a game, you also have to get hits with runners in scoring position. Is that the flow of a season? Because they've been so good this year with runners in scoring position. They have been very bad in the last 5 games with runners in scoring position. One of those stretches with or without Vinny, it would happen, or they are trying to do too much. Like, and certainly guys know when there's a runner in scoring position, whether or not they're coming through as a team. But baseball is so amazingly mental that, you know, you get into a game and it's like, you know, try less hard. Yeah, sure.
Look,
that's easy to say.
But here's how you can tell. You guys watch the games, okay? So guys with runners in scoring position, with the hitter that's up, how do you know he's pressing? That's the question. I want you guys to answer. How do you know if that guy's pressing or not?
Taking strikes and swinging at balls.
Swinging at bad pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the first pitch is way out of the zone, but you're guessing wrong.
Yeah.
You think fastball and adjust. You don't guess fastball. Okay? Because the more you guess, you spiral yourself into bad mechanics and mental defensive swinging, bad approach. You waste at bats. Okay? So when you can see that there's a curveball in the dirt that bounces on top of the home plate and you swing and miss by a mile on the first pitch, that tells you they're pressing. You have to let the game come to you. You just hit the ball hard where it's pitched, and that's what they were doing when things were running well.
What is it when, and this isn't to pick on Kyle Lisbo because he's come through a lot this year.
Yes.
But his at bat with runner at second and the first 2 pitches were fastballs down the middle, and he ends up striking out on a curveball that hit the plate.
It's a horrible at bat. It's a horrible at bat that cannot happen.
So if he's not swinging at early pitches, but he took 2 fastballs down, is that
he's not ready to hit?
That's in his head of I'm going to have a longer extent. I'm gonna work the pitcher. I'm gonna make sure I get. Or I'm guessing and waiting for a certain pitch because he's down 0-2 with fastballs down the middle. He's not going to see that pitch again.
Yeah, there are times when you need to take pitches and tap into a guy's pitch count, and that's fine. But look, if you've got a runner, even if the guy's cruising, but you have a runner in scoring position, and you've got what would you guys rather hit? A fastball down the middle or a backdoor slider that's really nasty that's going to clip the outside corner or maybe be below that outside corner or off the plate just a little bit. You want to hit a pitcher's pitch or you want to hit a hitter's pitch. Look at the first home run that Thomas hit off of Waka. It was a mistake pitch. It was a little inner half, but it was a sinker that did not sink. And he didn't try to hit a home run. Yeah. Because he hadn't hit a home run in how many at-bats was
249.
I don't think ever since he's been in Cleveland.
But it's been a stretch, I think, of it's the longest of his career, like 249 at-bats without a home run.
So that guy doesn't try to hit a home run. He put a good swing on a pitch.
It was an easy swing, too.
It was an easy swing because Waka threw it in the wrong location. Wrong location. And so that's how you know that guys are struggling and pressing and they're not ready to hit. Just if I get a pitch in my zone, just take a good swing. You know what? And then people start saying, "Oh, you can't swing at the first pitch there. Now you flew out with runner in scoring position." You get up there and try to hit a fastball down the middle. It's not always easy, but if you're swinging at the pitch that gives you the highest chance, highest opportunity to be productive, you take your swing. You're a big league hitter. That's what you do.
And I love that about Rex. Like we've talked about it, Sterling and I.
Rex in effect.
We love Rex is awesome. And he's so good. When you're watching the game and listening to how he's describing it and breaking it down, because there's plenty of times where, you know, somebody with the Royals will take the first pitch strike and Rex will say, you're probably not going to see that. You're probably not going to see that pitch again. You know, I mean, you got to, that's probably the best pitch you had.
Why are you so good at Rex and Denny?
Yeah, he's got a knack for that, doesn't he?
Yeah. What about, do you have like a Lefevre or like what do you got here?
I don't have a Lefevre. I don't. Back in the day when Lefevre was doing more radio with Denny, I had a sort of a bit back and forth with Lefevre and Denny when DeJesus was on the team.
Yeah.
And it was back when Rutgers women's basketball won the national championship. And it'd be, you know, Denny, Rutgers basketball just won the national championship on the women's side. And David DeJesus went to Rutgers. Thanks, Ryan. DeJesus digging in. That was it. That was the bit. That was it.
Can
that
you
was
do a Rex Hudler talking? I want to hear
You
Rex
gots to go.
and then Denny Matthews.
Hey, Denny, you gots to go. Well, Rex, I don't have to go right now. Prostate is working, though. Thanks to Lesh. Got my A checked a lot. Do it all the time now as you get older.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Heard Lesh talking about it, so PSA is something I do all the time. I do a
right.
PSA for a PSA. You know what, Denny? Now I gots to go. Sorry, it was dumb. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad. It was terrible.
I liked it.
That was
It
well
terrible.
done. Oh, it was well done. I love it.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. It was probably about the last 6 games for the Royals. I would put it on the same plane.
That went at least 3-3.
Really? Oh, it's 500 ball. I'll take
that
it.
was 500.
500 ball the rest of the way. I'll take it, man.
Look, I'll just say this: if the next Cleveland Minnesota series, if all your guys just swing at good pitches, that's it. Your offense, you keep it that simple. Just swing at good pitches unless you're 0-2, and then you fight to get it back even. Those 2 approaches, you will win 75. This Royals team will win 75% of their games if that's their only approach. But if you start seeing guys with runners in scoring position that swing early in the count at bad pitches, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, my issue like a while ago when Bobby swung at the first pitch and got out, and there was the big conversations that took place after that, Hosmer weighing in. To me, it wasn't a matter of swinging at the first pitch. I think that's where it got mixed. I think people were conflating swinging at the first pitch versus swinging at a bad pitch.
Agreed.
Right.
And he swung at a pitcher's pitch on the outside part of the plate on the first pitch. Bobby's hit the first pitch and crushed it on a hitter's pitch. I think that's sort of what you're talking about. First pitch, 7th pitch, whatever it is, swing at good pitches, swing at strikes. And if the best pitch you're going to see is a fastball down the middle, a get-me-over fastball to get ahead in the count, then rip that thing into a gap and move on. And if you pop it up, get him next time. At least I swung at a good pitch.
That's what we're talking about. You're not going to get a hit every time when you take a good swing on a pitch that is a hitter's pitch. It's just not going to happen. But you take your chances. And by the way, Kyle Isbell, MJ Melendez, Michael Massey, Garcia, all these guys in the lineup, when you are hitting 339 with 30 home runs and 97 RBIs and 8,000 stolen bases and 117 runs scored, when you do that and put that season together, then you can occasionally swing at a pitcher's pitch. Because if we go back and look at how many pitcher's pitch hits or high exit velocity results Bobby Witt Jr. has got, he's going to get a pass every time because he doesn't do that every time.
Tomahawk chop from his eyes on a home run, so he's done that.
So when
before,
you're that good, we can all compare that, but every hitter is not him, and so you have to be able to take that approach to hitters' pitches.
Just very quickly here, you look at Baseball Savant, everything's bright red, 100 percentile, 95th percentile, everything's absurd, and then you look at the one thing in the blue, and it's his chase percentage. 21st percentile, and that's going to your point. He swings at some bad pitches, more than most, but what does he do with those bad pitches? He Vladimir Guerrero's them.
Yeah.
Let's hope later on they are living the nightlife. Les, who wins first, Chiefs or Royals?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
What is today? Tuesday?
Wow.
Tuesday.
Royals will win first.
Okay.
The Chiefs will win bigger. But
yeah, so Chiefs will win Thursday.
yeah.
Royals will win one of the next 2 games because they're off
Absolutely.
Thursday.
Right. Yeah.
So they only have 2 chances. They better get it done.
They
you know,
will.
if they win the next 2, they're 2.5 out.
Yeah.
Now we're having different conversations. I
It's
do
all
think,
good.
you know, as guys get acclimated, I think Tommy Pham is a good addition. Him batting first, I think, helps out the lineup. You know, getting Hunter Renfroe back certainly will help. You just got to get the bullpen back rolling and the offense to string some bats together because that's
Yep.
what they've done.
There's plenty of time.
Yeah.
It's going to end well.
Yep. Get playing good baseball before the playoffs.
Believe it.
And don't worry about making the playoffs or not. We'll hear from Andy Reid next. Andy Reid's going to talk here on a Fast Friday on a Wednesday. And then no press conferences tomorrow, obviously the day before a game, and then on into Thursday, as we'll have pre and post for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. That game on KSHB 41. Chiefs and Ravens 3-point favorites are the Kansas City Chiefs, 46.5 the over. So over-under is, so we'll see what happens in that game. We talked a lot in the first hour about some of the differences with this Ravens team and the Chiefs from January 28th to August 31st, when the Ravens had a team that they felt was going to win the Super Bowl or good enough, and it did not work out. Here's Andy Reid.
Really nothing other than Hollywood to mention. Other than that, everybody practiced today. So before the challenge of playing the Ravens, good football team. We know that. Had a good week of practice. Guys are ready to go. So that time's yours.
Andy, do you historically think you have a feel for what the team's going to be like in the opener, just if it'll play well? And do you have a feel for this?
I go in saying we're going to play well. That's how I go into every game, but no different here.
And is it more so, it's probably obvious, but the opener, is it the most, for lack of a better term, mysterious, where you get so many unknowns and you go from there?
Yeah, I'm curious to see, what we've got. I mean, that's always, I think that's probably with every player, every coach, every fan, every media person. Curious to see what you have and how you handle everything. But that's the best part about it. We'll see how it goes.
Coach, can you share a little bit of just the conversation with Clyde about the decision to put him on NFI and where he's at right now?
Yeah, well, Clyde talked to you all, so you understand. I'm gonna keep what we talked about private, but we're looking out for, obviously what's best for him, and that's right now that's the most important thing.
We talked to Coach Tove a little bit yesterday about, it's still this kickoff rule, and maybe you got to see some things in preseason, but you don't really know until you get this game. What are you expecting teams to try to do in this? And is it fun to be the first ones out there to kind of do it for everybody?
Yeah, we'll see what goes. I'm not sure what to anticipate or expect, but we'll see how it all works out. You got two good special teams going against each other, plus John's got a ton of experience there, so we'll just see how it rolls. Brandon?
Oh, you remember my name?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great memory. Coach, let's get to it. I'm in town covering this game. Football season's here. Where do I get some good food? I have a couple of days. Where should I go eat?
Listen, if I say one, then the others will kick me out. You can't pick a bad spot, but after this, I'll give you one.
I didn't know you were a politician.
Yeah.
All right,
When it comes to food, I am.
All right, real question. Coach, legendary career, legendary run here in KC. How do you feel? How many more years do you have?
Yeah, I signed a 5-year deal, so we'll see how all that goes. I'm getting older, though, Brendan. You know that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, good.
All right, there goes this Fast Friday. Do you have he signed a 5-year deal, so we'll see how that goes, how long he's going to be in Kansas City. A couple of the actual questions there, though. Feel for the opener, how you guys are going to play. Says, I go in saying we're going to play well, curious to see what we've got and how we handle everything. With Clyde Edwards-Helaire, conversations, what would that like? Said I'm going to keep it private, but we're looking out for what's best for him, and that's the most important thing. And then an unknown on the kickoff, because whatever happened in the preseason, we have no idea if that's how teams are going to then do it in the regular season. You can watch the film on how the Ravens utilize their kickoff or kickoff return. That might also have been just completely vanilla. Same thing with the Chiefs and Dave Tobe. Like, we don't know until Thursday and this week how teams are actually going to start using some of the rules and strategy behind the kickoff and kickoff return. So that is a big unknown for this year. So we'll see. Travis Kelce's going to talk here soon whenever he gets to the podium, so we'll hear from Travis Kelce in a little bit.
His favorite food, couldn't say his restaurant.
I'm with
couldn't
him,
say
dude.
it.
I understand where he's coming from, because, if I was the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs and publicly somebody said, hey, where should I go eat barbecue? I'm not going to say just one, because I can't. Like, because then I want to go to the other places too.
And they're all good.
Right, and that's the answer. That's the answer. You can't find a bad spot. It's all great. We were driving through St. Louis, and somebody was like, "Oh, what's the best St. Louis barbecue spot?" And I said, "Okay, well, you get on I-70, drive 4 hours west, and pick anywhere, and that's the best St. Louis barbecue restaurant."
It's a great dad joke right there. That's
not even a joke. That's absolutely true.
It's a fact.
It's a fact, brother. Just get on I-70, and you're going to head west, roughly 4 hours. Pull off and eat any barbecue spot at that point. That's the best one.
I really want barbecue now.
Yeah, me too.
I really want some barbecue.
I want some barbecue. I want some barbecue now. Anybody want to get some barbecue? Dylan, you want to run up and get some barbecue real quick? You ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah. You can just leave it like this.
Oh, yes.
Curtis, can you get some barbecue? K-Dog.
K-Dog. He's working. All right, he's cutting up clips.
He's got 53 minutes.
He's cutting up all of those clips from Andy Reid right there. He's swamped.
He's got all that
and apparently,
great knowledge from Andy.
And apparently Travis Kelce is still in the Chiefs locker room.
Ah, great.
So Todd Lebo texted and said it could be a while. Don't know. I still have I have eyes on him in the locker room. That was just a text that just came in. So we'll hear from Kelce soon, though, and see how he's feeling heading into another year. And a guy with no idea and no plan B after football. So you got to think that he's just going to play until his legs break because he's got no idea what to do after football's over.
He did say until the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
But what's, I think, behooves Travis this year is, and the Chiefs in general, this is the deepest tight end room they've had.
That's true.
Obviously, they spent draft capital on Jared Wiley, and we'll see there. But Noah Gray is now into a trustworthy role, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's no Kelce, but you can trust him out there. They brought in their blocking tight end to hopefully alleviate, which they have in the past already with Blake Bell, of course, but to alleviate some of the obvious blocking situations. Hey, Trav, you come out. Peyton Hendershot, you go, you block for us, baby. You go in there, you do the dirty work.
Yeah.
And again, you just try to keep Trav as healthy and as fresh as possible. And I've said this. Some people disagree with me. All this Taylor Swift and travel and podcasts and all this stuff, some might say it's going to tire him down. I think it keeps him young. Like, I think this keeps him fresh. I know it's a lot of travel, it's a lot of moving, it's a lot going on. But he's in the limelight, and he likes that. He's a show pony. We know this about Trav. He likes to be in the media. He likes to be the guy. He's the guy right now. I think there's something to that as far as almost making him feel younger, right? He's the pinnacle. He's the focal point of the NFL right now for the majority of even non-football fans.
But I do think load management matters this year for Travis Kelce. And getting Peyton Hendershot, one of the things that Andy Reid talked about in having him come in, he mentioned that he can play special teams, or maybe it was Brett Veach. It was something about, it was Brett Veach because he was talking about when they were talking to Samaje Perine. They knew that Perine was not going to be a special teamer. So then they had to think of special teams. So they traded for Peyton Hendershot. And one of the things that allows them to do, as he said, was take Noah Gray off special teams.
Yeah.
So now Noah Gray doesn't have to play as many special teams. Okay, what does that mean? You're going to utilize Noah Gray a little bit more now? Year 4 into the system? Because there were times, especially in that Lions game, when Kelce didn't play. And, I went back and highlighted it and put stuff on Twitter at the time because it was like, Kelce's not there. This is a great chance for Noah Gray to show what he can do. And he had a pretty generic day. But there were a couple of plays where Noah Gray was running wide open, and Mahomes just didn't see him. And what I put on Twitter, I think, was 3 different plays that would have been gains of like 15 to 20 yards or more because he was like 15 yards downfield and wide open, and Mahomes went somewhere else. And my point was, if he was wearing 87, Mahomes throws it to him. That's where the ball is going to go. But he's not wearing 87, so Mahomes is thinking the overall play here, there, wherever I might need to go with the football. So Noah Gray, his day against the Lions could have been much better, and we could have come out of that game feeling a lot better about Noah Gray as a tight end without Travis Kelce if some of the plays that he was wide open on, one of them was a scramble drill where he stopped and went the other way, and it was like wide open. I'm like, Mahomes throws that to 8-7. He knows where 8-7 is going to be, and he throws it to 8-7. And it was Noah Gray, so Mahomes went somewhere else. Not that he was just like, I'm not going to throw it to him. It's just he knows 8-7. I can see almost peripheral. I know that's where the tight end's going to be.
He's a chameleon. He keeps one eye. An iguana. Is it a chameleon or iguana that has those movable eyes?
I think the iguana has the different eyes that can see.
It's a iguana. A chameleon as well.
Yeah, I guess
they both do. They both have
from the PSA ads, the chameleon texting and driving ads.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Nice. See, I knew those PSAs would be huge.
Being a lizard. Yeah, so are the tests. Make sure you get a lot of you get your PSA checked as well. But I think that would have been a big game for him. It wasn't. But I think he's serviceable. I think he's a good backup tight end. So what does that mean when Brett Veach says they trade for Peyton Hendershot because it allows them also to take Noah Gray off of special teams? Well, maybe there's more, 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets where they're going to utilize Noah Gray a little bit more. Or they just don't want to wear him down because they need more load management for Travis Kelce this year. So there needs to be more offensive plays for Noah Gray, which means, hey, less plays on special teams. All of that sort of going together. Travis Kelce playing less percentage, Noah Gray playing a higher percentage, so Noah Gray less special team snaps.
By the way, when Andy said, thanks, Brandon, Lebo just said that was Brandon Marshall.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty interesting. That was Brandon Marshall who was asking the where to eat questions as well as how many years did he think he had left in the tank.
Brandon Marshall last year at some point was at a Chiefs press conference or two.
What did he do?
He played wide receiver, Dylan.
He was a Knight
That's
at
right.
UCF.
Yes. He asked
a 6-time Pro
Rihanna,
Bowler.
who did he ask if they knew who someone was or if they knew?
Oh, man, that's right. Because he was at a press conference, right? Yeah, so he was at a press conference last year.
Was it Patrick Mahomes that he asked like Rihanna if she knew who Patrick was?
That's right, but he was joking about
Right,
it, right?
yeah,
He had made it up. He had said, like, Rihanna said that you're her favorite
That's right.
quarterback. And he was like, wow, that's pretty awesome
Because then
to
they
hear.
went and asked Rihanna about it,
She's
and
like,
she was like, I apologize for that.
And
I
then
did not.
Brandon Marshall was like, oh, I was just joking with him.
Yeah.
See what his reaction would be. Like,
that's great.
All right. But yeah, so he's been. What's he? Is he doing with Thursday Night Football or?
Well,
Amazon,
he was a co-host on Inside the NFL. No, he's currently a co-host on Showtime's Inside the NFL.
There it is.
He was on FS1. That's what it was. I remember him on FS1. So now he's on Inside the NFL.
He and Ray Lewis and Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
On Inside the NFL. But yeah, Brandon Marshall was at a press conference, one of the games last year at some point. I don't remember which game it was. It might have been the Miami game or later on in the season or whatever. But yeah, so Brandon Marshall, where to eat? I mean, I'll let him know. Exactly what I said. Pick a spot. You're fine. Man, I want some barbecue now. Brandon Marshall, getting us some barbecue. But yeah. Todd says his shirt says, I am athlete. There you go. He is. He's a hell of an athlete. A hell of a player.
Should be an in between there. I am an athlete.
Nope. Just I am athlete. Hello, athlete. I am Jason. You are Sterling. He is athlete.
You're saying Dylan is the athlete?
Yes. That's exactly right. One of us played sports after high school. Which of the three played sports after high school? Not like recreationally.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
Like for a college. Wore a uniform that wasn't just a weirdo wearing a uniform.
What does he say in Major League? I got bats and helmets and everything.
Wait, my Miller Lite jersey doesn't count?
It does not count, no.
The Miller Lite one? Oh,
no,
shoot.
It does not count. It's got a team. It's got a school and a team and a mascot.
Last chance you, man. Indy Community College. Home of
yeah.
Jason Brown.
There you go. Jason Brown, big Mahomes fan.
Huge Mahomes guy.
Huge Mahomes. Doesn't think Mahomes is overrated at all. In fact, underrated.
Is that weird dude who's on Twitter?
Yes, it is a weird dude. But it was the guy on Last Chance U with football, and then also the guy who thinks Patrick Mahomes is a system quarterback and not very good.
No, that guy's not a real person. I'm convinced.
I walked the halls with him. He was real.
He's real. Yeah, Dylan walked the halls with him for some reason.
He was there.
Did you guys share the same classes?
So he was there when they fired the previous coach in the fall when I was there for my last season because he went 0-11.
Wait, where were you at? What are we talking about now?
Independence
Community College.
Wait.
And so he was in there for the spring, instilling the program and yada yada.
This weird cat, this weird dude.
Jason Brown was the head coach at Independence Community College.
Yeah.
No.
What are you talking about?
That is not a real person. This is a long bit, right?
It's the only thing he's known for. Well, and now hating on Mahomes to be able to get his little more shine.
The kind of like bald guy with the visor.
Yeah. Yes. Last Chance U.
That's a real. No.
You haven't seen Last Chance U? Clearly not, because
that's
it's a real person.
real person, not some bit.
Yes. Now
my mind is blown. I thought
Really?
I thought for sure that I go no chance. No one's this knows this little about ball. Like I thought for sure this was a bit and a joke.
He's a national champion JUCO coach. I mean, he's not a moron. I mean, he sounds like one a lot, but he's not. He knows a lot about football.
His takes on Patrick Mahomes make him look like a
Exactly.
No.
Yeah,
that guy's won something before.
Yeah.
Jason.
And I'm not going to discredit his job at Independence Community College because, like I said, they were 0-11, and I think they'd won one game in the last 5 years, and then he had them on Last Chance U playing for national titles.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a moron in the Mahomes regard, but
yeah, he had 2 seasons of Last Chance U.
Yeah,
I 1,000% thought this was a bit. Because I've seen his takes on Twitter and I go, these can't be a real person.
Yeah, season 3 and 4 was about about Indy, and then 1 and 2 was Eastern Mississippi Community College, right? East Mississippi or Eastern Mississippi Community College, with the first 2. Those were really good. The 3rd and 4th season, he made it about himself.
Right. It was good for me because I know the place.
But Jason Brown made it about himself.
Totally.
Season
and
3
I tell people he was not.
Season 1 and 2 was about the
was
players
when the
and Last
cameras weren't
Chance
there.
U.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Season 3 and 4 was about Jason Brown.
Like, he was cool. Like, I always tell people, I thought he was the assistant coach because he was kind of had a really cool relationship with everyone, but I think he was just trying to, let everyone think that everything was cool, kumbaya.
As he was getting the program started, and then, Well, I mean,
I learned something new today.
I thought it was a bit that you were doing for a second.
I usually do. That's what I always think is that he's doing the bit.
Hold on, you're saying is that a bit, but you're the one doing the bit?
I 1,000 thought that guy was just like he was doing a bit this entire time.
It's like a Nick Adams.
Yeah, that was Nick Adams the whole time. I thought it was like Nick Adams. Yes.
He's a soy boy.
Because all he does is talk about himself the whole time. He's like, I'm the greatest of all time, and
he's a beta.
If you have time, go watch 3 and 4, and it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll want to smoke cigars in a hot tub.
Well, I've done that.
You actually won't want to do that.
It's a stick or whatever he calls it.
Won't actually want to do that.
I am a big cigar and hot tub kind of guy.
Are you?
Yeah.
That makes sense. While wearing a visor. Travis Kelce has left the locker room. He's walking into the media room right now. So let's go ahead and listen in. Travis Kelce.
As it is, I don't even got it set up right now because I'm switching spots. You already know. I'll get it to you. We'll find another time. You already know. Heat, though. It's heat to the ceiling. What's going on, guys?
Travis, going through another training camp and everything. I mean, last year, late in the year, we're asking you about potential retirement. Just wondered what you felt going through training camp and just your energy being back.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Get to play another year of football. Fresh slate. Get to kind of prove to ourselves and the Chiefs Kingdom that we're one of the top dogs. We can play at a high level, man. It's exciting.
How do you feel?
Ready to rock. I've never been more excited, to be honest. I'm just we got a great team, a great group of guys that are putting all their heart into every single day, and that's fun to be a part of.
Travis, is there any way to compare what you feel like going into this opener to, let's say, your first 1 or 2? I mean, is it a totally different feeling?
Completely different, yeah. You're just more comfortable, more aware of kind of the system, the routines, so you feel like you get, just that much more of a heads up, or you're kind of like more advanced in terms of understanding scheme and things like that, and just how you're supposed to attack your opponent.
How about just dealing with adrenaline and things like that? I mean, I assume you're much better equipped now.
I love it. I just I've always enjoyed playing in the biggest moments with the most on the line, and what better way to go start off the season than the Baltimore Ravens? Man.
Trev, I've been here before. My days playing. You're in this inflection point where you can start to feel it. You can start seeing the end. Last year you got off to a slow start because you was dealing with some things.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between this time around and right around this time last year? How are you feeling mentally and physically? Physically I feel just as good, if not and more ready than I have been in years past. Just because you get more comfortable with your body, you learn things from the mistakes you made in years past and things like that. And you just constantly keep getting better and keep getting more aware of where your body's at. So. Around this time in my career, like I picked up like dry needling, or I may have changed my nutrition up a little bit. Is there one thing in particular that you leaned into this offseason that's going to get you the next 2, 3, 4 years of playing ball?
We'll see what challenges occurred throughout the season. I think I've caught a good routine and a good groove of making sure that I'm at peak athletic ability to go out there and perform every single week. And you just never know, the nicks and the bumps and bruises that you get throughout the season. You might have to pick up something new along the way.
Travis, is there something about this year's group of receivers that stands out that maybe sets it apart from last year or any other recent group?
I would say, I've loved the receiver group that we've always had. Obviously, we got hit with kind of a stereotype that we couldn't catch the ball on big downs and things like that. But this year, I think, in terms of confidence and where we're different from years past, it seems like the group is more tight knit. Everybody's playing off of each other a little bit more. There's more of a discussion in the room. And I'm just excited that the type of athletes that we got and the type of quarterback that we have, that we can put it all together.
Trav, in your experience, can a team reveal its personality in the opening game, or does it need a few games for that to happen?
I think you go out and you had all offseason, all training camp to get ready for this moment right here. Obviously there's going to be mistakes or there's going to be things we can work on after this game, but I think we're as ready as we've ever been going into this first one.
About feeling physically great. I'm curious if the coaches have talked to you for week 1 at least in terms of managing your snap count.
No, and I probably wouldn't listen to them if they did.
Thinking back specifically to this game last year, you had to miss. Just as you think back to that, and just the fact that how grateful are you that you're actually available and you had a nice training camp and everything kind of went that way?
I'm forever fortunate to be able to play as many games as I've played already in this league, and that's why I really enjoy going out there every single day, even if it's just a practice, to really work on my craft, because I know not everybody gets that same, fortune in their career. And I'm ready to rock week 1, and I'm thankful for it.
We got to wrap this up. Go ahead, Pete.
How fun has this been with Pat? Just because knowing we see videos and whatnot of your relationship off the field, and getting to do this more with a friend than maybe even just a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, Pat he's a brother, man. I've learned to just enjoy the moments and the big time games and all that stuff, but it's the day-to-day stuff that makes it fun when you're in the building with Pat Mahomes. He shows up and he has a good time doing it week in, week out, day in, day out, and that's the type of guy you want to come into work with. And outside of that, it's just fun building those relationships throughout the building. Obviously, Pat is the one you guys see for the most part, but I mean, there's a bunch of guys and women in this building that I hold dear to my friendships. I hold dear, and I treat them like family. And it's because of just the type of people that the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to bring in.
Go ahead, Bob.
Trav, how could you sum up, if you can, the changes in your life in the last year in terms of the attention on you and things of that nature? What is there a way you can just describe what that difference is?
Hopefully, the best are yet to come, baby.
You told us many times you want to do it till the wheels fall off. And as Vi just said, you got a lot of things happening in your life, and you got a podcast that's worth lots of money. You got a lot of options out there. How do you focus on this, because you can keep all the rest of the stuff out of it? How do you go about doing that? It doesn't seem so
I just love coming in here, man. It's kind of, I mentioned St. Joe is my sanctuary. I just love football and how it takes me away from life, and it gives me something I can feel genuinely happy about. I enjoy coming in the building, working on my craft, getting to understand a new game plan and perfecting that for the people around me. It gives me a purpose to kind of go about my day and to live my life, and I have so much excitement doing it. It's going to be hard trying to figure out when to call it quits or not.
Last two, Sam and Nate. Sam.
Travis, maybe this is related to that, but some of the guys in there say that they get a lot of their energy from just what you bring every day in practice. Where do you get it from? And do you have days where maybe it's a little bit tougher for them?
Yeah, who doesn't, man? Everybody has those days, but what you got to understand is that the goal and the goal in mind of the team is bigger than you, and everybody needs you to be at your best. And my college coach Butch Jones always told me either you're a fountain or drain, baby. You don't want to be draining anybody out here, man. Give people life.
Last one, Nate.
Travis, you've been here just as long as Andy. You've seen the game plans for all these opening games. Just what is the excitement when you see that first game plan for the season, and how much can you, because of your experience, sort of envision or start to visualize how things may play out on the game?
It's exciting. It's exciting. It's the first game of the season. Everybody wants to come out and show how explosive they are, show how great they or how much better they got from last year, and it's just a great opportunity to be going up against such a great team. Coach Harbaugh, everybody over there in Baltimore is just, top tier. And they got some of the best players in the league on both sides of the ball, and it's just going to be a great challenge for us. But I think everybody's just fired up to get out in front of Arrowhead and get this season started.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Travis.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, there's Travis Kelce, and getting ready for week number one. Much different week number one for Travis Kelce this year than it was last year, because it was, I think, Sunday or Monday, or was it a Tuesday, that it came out the last part of practice. All of a sudden, he something about his knee. I'm like, uh-oh, and what's going on with that? And then as we find out last year, it was a bone bruise, misses the first game, and then was back for week two. But it took a little bit, for him to fully look healthy. But much different this go-around in week number one for Travis Kelce, and being the energy guy and getting ready for this game. And if the coaches have talked to him about managing his snap counts, no, I wouldn't listen to them if they did. It was a funny line from Travis Kelce. But also just simply being around Patrick Mahomes, one of, if not the greatest tandems in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce get to go around the block a couple more times in their career. This year being one of them, and we'll see how many more for Travis Kelce. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll talk more about what we heard from Andy and Kelce and a little bit more about the Chiefs. Ravens coming up in a couple of days. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We heard from Andy Reid. We heard from Travis Kelce getting ready for the game against the Ravens on Thursday night. Chiefs 3-point favorites. Andy Reid not wanting to talk much about Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the NFI list. The decision that was made to place Clyde on the non-football injury list means he'll be out at least 4 weeks. I talked to Adam Teicher in the 11 o'clock hour, and one of the questions was, do you think that Clyde will play this year? And his answer was essentially, I'd have a hard time thinking at this point that he does. It's a long season, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But just because you're missing the first 4 games doesn't mean that's all you're going to miss.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're back week 5.
Yeah, and if they go through the season with Pacheco, Steele, and Pirine, and health isn't an issue, there wouldn't be a need for Edwards-Helaire. And if the Chiefs are already paying his salary this year, is there a need from his standpoint to say, no, I gotta work through this so I can get back to playing football? Part of, I think, the Chiefs paying the salary is allowing him to take his time to fully deal with everything and not think, well, I'm not making money right now, so I'm not making any money. I'm not getting my salary, so therefore I've got to focus on football and not the mental health aspect of it.
So that was my question, was how was his contract originally broken down? Because what was it guaranteed when he signed it? Because 1.3 guaranteed when he signed his deal, right? You guaranteed at signing was 1.325. Overall, it's 1.7. So he would have received the majority of his money to begin
they're
with.
Paying him an extra $400,000 this year.
Yeah, I wonder
see what you're saying.
So I wonder how much of a difference that would have been. But versus money versus he's still around the players, the organization, the health insurance, however that's broken down.
Yeah.
That might be the more pressing matter because monetarily that's not a huge difference.
Good point.
But it's probably more or less he's around people who he knows. He's around his healthcare workers with the Chiefs. I'm sure that he trusts instead of trying to do that all on his own. That might be the better way of phrasing it. Yeah, I don't know. I do think injuries happen to the running back position. It has every single season pretty much. There's going to be a guy that goes down. Who will it be? We don't know. But from Pacheco, from Clyde, from Jerick McKinnon, when was the last time the Chiefs have had a season where a running back did not at least miss some time?
I mean, it's what you've got to go in with a couple, 3 running backs because that they're not going to be able to play all 17 games and be healthy for every single game. Travis Kelce talked about the wide receiver group and said last year that they were stereotyped a little bit in not being able to catch the football. I think it's more not stereotype, but sort of a narrative is what he was going for.
I'd say more or less it's because it
I
happened.
think it was probably reality of the fact that they could not catch the football. But he said that this team and this group feels more tight-knit. There's more discussion in the room. They feel closer as a group this year. Now, that does not mean that you have to take a shot at the previous one and say that they weren't close or they didn't like each other or they didn't ever talk. But this one's saying they're more tight-knit. Last year could have been tight-knit. This one's just more. This one's just tied a little bit tighter. It's double-knotted. This one's double-knotted, a little tighter this year. But more tight-knit, more discussions going on in the room. How does that translate to catching the football? We'll see. I mean, I don't know. If the guys weren't loving being around each other, do they then not catch the football? Or do you have a bunch of guys that, catch everything but don't really like each other? They're going to go out and catch the football.
Yeah.
So I don't know that one leads to the other. But it doesn't hurt if you got a bunch of guys that are close to be able to bounce things off of and talk game plan, more discussions in the room, things like that. Yeah, absolutely, especially when you got 2 guys in Hollywood and Xavier that are new to the game plan, that are new to the scheme. One guy new to the NFL. One guy learning an NFL playbook for the first time. Hollywood Brown learning his 3rd NFL playbook. So he's, obviously got some questions. Jared Wiley has questions. Peyton Hendershot now is going to have a lot of questions about the playbook and scheme.
Samaje Perine into
No doubt.
not a receiver, but a receiving back.
But still, man, I mean, a lot of questions. The guy got the playbook on Monday, and he's like, it's not ideal. We'll see. I mean, obviously, he didn't get it on Monday, but you get the point.
He got it 2 days before Monday, so we got it on Saturday, I think.
I don't know. I think he probably got it when they started talking to him about signing him. I think when it was like, all right, we're going to sign you. Here's the playbook. Start studying, buddy.
Yeah.
So, but, practicing, actually being out there and implementing some of the things on paper to see them what they look like on the field, that has to happen. That has to take place. College football AP poll released.
Yeah, baby.
All 3 local schools moved up. Mizzou moved from 11 to 9. K-State moved from 18 to 17, and KU moved from 22 to 19. So all 3 top 20. Not only ranked top 25, all 3 ranked top 20 heading into week number 2. A couple of road contests for K-State and KU. Mizzou at home against Buffalo.
They're playing the Bills?
That's
wow,
right.
That's a huge test for the Tigers.
I like Mizzou. I'll take my chances against the Bills. So, and we have something for the first time ever. For the first time ever has happened in the AP poll era. There has never been a team ranked in the top 10 of the AP poll, and by the second AP poll was out of the top 25. Florida State.
Wow, really?
Is now the first team to ever be ranked preseason top 25. And by the second poll, now they've played 2 games.
Well, as I'm going to say, yeah, because
but
the
it's
week
still
0.
Still the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Well, there's one poll, they're in the top 10. The very next poll, they're out of the top 25. It's the first time that has ever happened in college football history, and it was Florida State. That's too bad.
And A&M also fell out of the top 25, which if you saw them play, you should not be surprised by that.
Yeah. So
were you surprised that Mizzou jumped Michigan? Because they jumped Michigan. Mizzou was 11.
Yeah.
Michigan won. I forget who they played, but
Michigan won against
Fresno State.
They
did not look good, actually. They looked brutal for the first 3 quarters. But I just figured the brand name Michigan, they would have stayed ahead.
I feel like there were some voters maybe just waiting for the opportunity to drop Michigan as far as possible after the first loss, or maybe just a first stumble. I guess it wasn't a loss, but do you think that maybe there were some people that were just ready to drop Michigan as soon as possible? Because they really won, and how far did they drop?
But they did
2 spots. I mean, they would go from 9 to
right.
No, they
9 to 10.
9 to 10. 1 spot, 9 to 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and Florida State went from 10 to outside. Of the top 25. Okay, so now ESPN SportsCenter tweeted out, and I'm seeing this, that Florida State's the first team to do that since Clemson in 2008. So there were 2 other tweets that were going around saying that Florida State's the first one to be ranked in the AP top 10 preseason, and by the second poll be out by week 2. And SportsCenter tweets out, last time a team ranked in the AP preseason top 10 dropped out of the top 25 entirely by the second AP poll was Clemson in 2008.
When was Michigan Appalachian State?
God, that was a while ago.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
I think that was before 08.
Were they top 10, though? And did they drop all the way out of the top 25, or was that one of those to where?
I think they were
what
7.
a game.
Yeah.
I think
what
they were 7 and
Yeah.
dropped all the way out of the top
Did they?
25. Yeah.
So like I said, this is not the first time, apparently, according to others. But, yeah. But still, Florida State out of the top 25. KU, 19. K-State, 17. Mizzou, number 9. All
KU.
3 ranked in the top 20.
KU
moved
ahead
up 3
of
spots.
KU ahead of Arizona, who Arizona's been a Big 12 darling, it feels like, especially after that receiver went for 300, which brings up a lot of questions of if teams should stat pad, early on, should Mizzou leave Luther Burden in.
I wish Boston College would have stat padded last night for one more touchdown, but that's a different story.
But like Luther Burden, if you're trying to go for the Blindenkoff Award, do you need to stay in longer just so you can get? I think it's a little silly, but at the end of the day, you'll see the 304 and it's going to count.
It's gonna count, but if he's not doing anything against K-State, or Utah, or does KU play Arizona this year? I know they play Arizona State.
No, I don't think they do this year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. Arizona plays K-State, but not KU.
Yeah, because it's a non-conference game.
Yeah.
With K-State and Arizona.
Because it was scheduled before.
Non-conference conference game. But like if he does nothing,
does it count for the conference? I know it's it somehow still doesn't count for the
no conference standings, no conference.
That's
stats.
incredible because it was scheduled before. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a non-conference game when you're playing a team in conference right now. But like if he doesn't do anything against K-State in week 3, or struggles against Utah, that's going to be different. Whereas if Luther Burden's going to have opportunities against A&M and Alabama and Oklahoma, how do you play in those particular games? What do you look like when the lights are the brightest, how do you look?
All I know is I love these grouping of three. I always group K-State, LSU, and KU together.
Yeah,
we always have traditionally grouped
100%.
those three as they are
17, 18, 19. Yeah.
And we always traditionally group Penn State, Mizzou, and Michigan
Yes.
at 7 or 8, 9, and 10. We always do that, right?
Yeah,
That's
right.
always the typical grouping. Of
I've
those
always
threes.
said K-State, LSU, KU. They're connected by the fact that K-State and KU play each other, and Les Miles coached at LSU and KU, so they're all connected. It's K-State, KU, and LSU. Come on, Les Miles connected all. When Les Miles coached KU against K-State, those three were connected.
I'm still shocked that Brian Kelly just threw the entire players under the bus.
Oh, he threw himself under the bus, and I got to coach better. And that's
the
no reason
quarterback-
we should be talking about this. I mean, it's like, do you throw yourself under the bus if you say, I have to coach them better?
He says it after he says
Yes.
Yeah.
every reason why we lost is their fault,
Yeah.
but I got to coach better.
I got to coach better.
That was just one of the
that is true.
softest post game. Like
He pounded the table.
Oh yeah, he pounded. Was
he
that
hit
Dave
the
Tobe's
table.
pounding table?
He hit the table very hard. That's not a soft.
Was that Dave Tobe's pounding
It
table?
was. That's the table
I want to
he
get
pounded.
a table and
Well, it didn't work because Nico ain't on the team, so Dave Tobe couldn't have been pounding that table very hard.
wasn't a hard.
It's a weak
Stop my-
pounding. No, but Brian Kelly just like he.
Come on.
It can't be a soft press conference when he's hitting the table. That's tough. That's just toughness. That's not fake. That's not false bravado. That's
My
not
family.
That's not trying to show out to the fans to make sure that they aren't going to, talk trash on you and want to fire you. That's not trying to earn good graces with the fans to try to
Where's
show
Coach
them
O?
that you are just as emotionally mad as they are. That's not doing that at all. That's really being honest and bringing it to the table of how he truly actually feels. That's what that is. That's not an act.
Saw a lot of Notre Dame fans commenting like, "We tried to warn you. We hope you can come to our side after you fire this guy." Like I think this is a Brian Kelly playbook here, where he kind of just shifts blame to the
Oh
players
my
all the time.
gosh, Notre Dame's schedule is hilarious.
Yeah, they played A&M and then.
That's it.
Yep. That's what's going to be great about Notre Dame this year is that
They can't get higher than 4 or 5, actually.
Well, I mean, I don't know if teams lose.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to play anybody, so they better not
So
lose.
I thought you had to have a conference championship game to be in the top
see what
4.
you're saying, yeah.
Florida
I see what you're
State,
saying,
no,
but-
because Florida State's atrocious.
They could be ranked in the top 4, but not like a top 4 seed, which we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you consider Louisville or Georgia Tech?
Well, Louisville's going to score.
Georgia Tech looks good.
Yeah, Georgia Tech
Yeah,
looks
okay,
better. They looked good against Florida State. You know,
That's my point.
Who'd they
Like-
play yesterday? I don't remember who they played this weekend.
Georgia Tech played this weekend. They played Georgia State in 35-12. The only tough game that Notre Dame has left is at USC.
Yeah, USC.
That's the
what I was
final
trying
game of the
trying
season.
to think of the one game that I'm like, I know they play one more game on the road, and it's USC.
This
that they
is-
play. And
I mean-
USC's number 13 right now.
That's if you thought KU or K-State or Mizzou had a I don't want to say easy, but a favorable schedule based on their conferences. Look at Notre Dame. I mean, that is
Yeah.
just. A&M had a chance to do the.
What's like I
Yeah.
I know that Danny Cannell does not like the SEC, and he's championed by a lot of people in the ACC and Big 12 and Big 10 and Pac-12
Sure.
because he hates on the SEC, which is fine.
Yeah.
But he put out his like top 25, and he was like top 20 or top 12 or whatever, earned, not given. And he had number 3 Notre Dame. I'm like, the hell's earned about that? Like they returned 5 players and they beat LSU. You hate the SEC anyway, so what's
Not
earned about-
A&M. A&M.
A&M, that's what I meant.
And
A&M.
A&M's
And A&M, is, we'll see how good A&M is, as the A&M's quarterback was brutal, was not good in that particular game. Now maybe you go, well, yeah, because of Notre Dame. Okay, fine, whatever. But anyway, I almost tweeted out last night. I ended up erasing it because Danny Cannell during the game was like, Florida State's going to turn this around. And I almost quote tweeted and said, I know what Danny Cannell would be saying about Florida State if he didn't go there and they played in the SEC. He would be destroying. This is your top 10 SEC team. SEC top. See, this is what happens when you inflate an SEC team into the top 10, and they're not worthy. They're not good enough.
But
He
if
would
only
be
if they
clowning
have their
them.
starters, though.
He would be clowning them. Instead, they're going to turn this around. They're going to figure out a narrator. They did not turn it around.
Florida State
He
would
eventually
be-
tweeted out and said, "I think FSU is going to lose."
Florida State would be South Carolina in the SEC. That's Florida State. Florida State and South Carolina shaking hands.
I do like the fact that Florida State has lost twice, and Clemson got beat down, and they're the ones that are saying, like, we got to get out of the ACC. The competition level isn't good enough for us in the ACC. We got to get the hell out of here. Do you,
It's
though?
almost like the other teams heard that.
Do you, though? Do you got to get out of there? Because
I think the Pac-12 is looking for a couple more teams.
That's right. They didn't renew their they didn't renew the contract with the Mountain West.
They could go. Cross. You're telling me you wouldn't have Oregon State? All of a sudden, you got to play a conference game against Clemson. Seems like an easy flight.
I feel bad for Oregon State and Washington State. I really do. Like getting left. No team, should be in that position where you just get completely left behind by your conference. And now they're not extending the Mountain West contract, so Oregon State and Washington State are playing an independent schedule next year, or they're going about scheduling an independent schedule. Like, it sucks, man, just to be in that position. And Washington State losing so many of their players because the players were like, why am I can transfer anywhere now. Like, it just debilitating, man. It crushes you. So, but Clemson and Florida State can go play in the Pac-12 if they want to. I don't think they want to. I think they want to join the SEC or the Big Ten. But Florida State would like to rejoin the top 25 one day. That should be their initial goal. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling, wrap up the show. Coming up next. All right, so I had to go back and look in 2008 because I was curious as to how Clemson would play one game, preseason number 9, and drop out of the top 25 on the next poll. In 2008, Clemson was number 9 preseason. They played Alabama, and they lost 34-10 to Alabama.
Okay.
That'd be an Alabama team that would go undefeated and lose to Florida in the SEC championship game. Florida would win the national title that year. Clemson went from number 9 to dropping out of the top 25 because they lost to Alabama.
That's wild.
Yeah. Alabama preseason was number 24 in America. They would go undefeated that year and lose in the SEC championship game to Tim Tebow.
What year was that? Oh, that
2008.
was 2008. Okay. So that's kind of the start of the Saban greatness.
So, but Clemson was number 9, played one game, lost to Alabama, and fell all the way to 26. Illinois was number 20, lost their first game to Mizzou, and fell to 24.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They didn't fall out of the top 20. I thought maybe everybody in the top 25 won.
Yeah.
Except Clemson. No.
Wild.
Illinois lost. Now,